The following is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are the Fox. We are the Lions.
A beautiful night for baseball, a beautiful night for the Bench family. Johnny Bench, his statue unveiled at Great American Ballpark minutes ago. And that's the highlight story of this night at Great American Ballpark as the Reds take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Smile, Big Johnny. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welsh, I'm George Grant. For a guy who grew up in Cincinnati, Chris, you know this is a special day.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, George. I mean, all the games, all the years, all the championships and the titles and the personal accolades that he won along the way. I mean, you think you're going to get a player like this every 10 or 15 years, but it simply doesn't happen. I mean, he is a once-in-a-lifetime type of player. I'm just so happy for him and the Reds to be able to have a night like this.
The greatest catcher ever? If you're a Reds fan, you probably say yes. All you have to do is look at the numbers, and they'll tell you why. From Binger to the Hall of Fame, Johnny Bench, 17 Major League Baseball seasons. That trails only 3 other Reds. The 1968 Rookie of the Year, and from 68 on, Chris, he put his stamp on the game.
Well, you know, George, it's not just the accolades that you see right here and the numbers that he put up. It's the way he led that ball club. And
on hand, gave him a standing ovation to that. Hopefully by the time this night ends, they'll be giving a standing ovation to Edinson Volquez. He'll get the ball tonight against the Milwaukee Brewers. That's coming up next on Fox Sports Ohio.
produced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, what a great night for baseball. You've seen a flavor of what's happening tonight, and what a backdrop of weather. Brian Gum has the picture of the weather for us tonight.
A nice autumn-like night for baseball tonight at Great American Ballpark. We're going to be in the upper 60s here by the first pitch. A fair amount of cloud cover around, but no rain in the forecast for the game tonight. Near 63 by the 7th inning and down to 61 degrees there by the final out. Enjoy the game right here on Fox Sports Ohio.
That's a nice forecast for weather. How about a forecast for victory tonight? Edinson Volquez will get the ball. Chris, which Edinson will show up?
Well, if he has a little bit of tempo, meaning if he stays back and stays relaxed and doesn't drive too hard at the hitters, he's going to have a good night, because he's a guy that can throw a fastball right by just about anybody in the league. Has a great changeup as well. When he falls into problems, though, is when he tries too hard, really rushes at the hitter, loses his control, and it's awfully tough to pitch for a team like the Brewers when you're behind in the count.
Reds count on him to pitch. They count on Joey to hit. Two of the best hitters in the game going at it tonight. Joey Votto for the Reds. Ryan Braun, who had 2 homers last night for the Brewers, next.
Reds Baseball is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. By your local Ford dealer. Ford, drive one. By the Regional Tourism Network. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time.
It's history time at Great American Ballpark tonight. Johnny Bench night, as the statue honoring Johnny unveiled outside the ballpark a little over an hour ago. Ceremony just concluded. If you're just joining us, we'll show you more of that as the evening progresses. And there's some baseball to be played, too. The Reds against the first-place Milwaukee Brewers. Let's check Ron Renicke's starting lineup for the Brew Crew tonight. Corey Hart, who had last night off, is in the leadoff spot playing right. Niger Morgan moves from number 1 to number 2. Outstanding bunter, both to sacrifice and get a base hit. Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder, there in the race for the MVP. Last night, Fielder had a homer. Braun had 2. Casey McGee back at third. Betancourt, the shortstop, will hit behind him. Jonathan Lucroy. Behind the plate, Craig Counsell, the veteran infielder, will play second for Ricky Weeks. And Giovanni Gallardo, the pitcher, will bat in the number 9 position. A pretty good hitting pitcher. Here's Edinson Volquez, Chris, his 18th start of the year, and really he's trying to look at this as a start to 2012.
Well, he is. I think, George, that he's a guy that really feels like he should have been in the big leagues more than he was this year, and they kept him down there to try to do 2 things. Number 1, to work and make sure that you worked hard and smart. at becoming a major league pitcher. Number two, get your control under control. And the last start he had, the 17th of the year, that in Colorado, was a whole lot like we saw during the rest of the season, where he went 5 innings, had a high pitch count, danced around 4 different walks. He only gave up 2 runs, but he's got such good stuff that he can do that. But you want with Edinson Volquez to untap that immense potential that he has, because if he can throw the ball over the plate and attack the strike zone the way Johnny Cueto does, now you're really talking about having a number 1 and a number 2 who can, on any given night, can come out and get you with no-hit stuff.
You got to believe that Walt Jocketty, the Reds general manager, is looking very closely at Edinson in this start and probably one more before the year is over to try to get a barometer as to how he'll approach the offseason and where he will fit in for this pitching staff in 2012. If he's right, he's where he should be. You know, Chris, if you look at this year, you can talk about offensive difficulties, but if Bronson Arroyo, Travis Wood, and Edinson Volquez had done what you expected them to do, the Reds would be in a pennant race right now.
Well, you're right about that. It was really a breakdown of starting pitching, and that really trickles down and makes the rest of the season very tough to catch up with.
Here's Corey Hart ready to lead it off. He takes strike 1 from the home plate umpire Bill Miller. Tom Hallion, the crew chief, is down at first. Phil Cuzzy at second, and Mike Estabrook is over at third. Hart is 4 for 13 and a homer, 308 against Edinson Volquez in his career. Last night it was home run ballpark for the Brewers. Prince Fielder had his 33rd. Braun had 2 to hit 30 for the year. And George Kataris had a home run as well. That's a fair ball. Pass Francisco down at third. Rounding first, going to second is Hart. And he'll be in there. So Corey Hart continues his over 300 hitting. They've bounced people around in the leadoff spot since Ricky Weeks was injured. They've used Niger Morgan there a lot, Hart there a lot, and here Hart starts them off.
Can you understand why you're doing this, though? You throw the fastball by a guy 2 times in a row, and then you're going to outsmart yourself and throw him a changeup. And yeah, Corey Hart barely hit that ball. You see it was way out on the end of the bat, but still, why don't you just live with your number 1 and not be too cute out there, especially when you've got the fastball that Edinson Volquez. You attack these guys until they show you that they're beginning to catch up on you, and I'm not so sure Corey Hart could do that.
Here's Niger Morgan. Second most sacrifices in the league. He'll also bunt for a hit. He has 7 bunt hits, so an outstanding bunter, so the pressure is on Francisco at third. He'll swing at the first pitch, but that doesn't mean he won't still try to dump a bunt down. And when he does it, it's not necessarily to sacrifice, it's to try to get on.
Well, it's a dual purpose bunt. You can give him the sacrifice, but he can bunt it so well and scoot down the line that he's looking for a base hit at the same time.
Hart inches off second. Bounce down the first base line, and that's foul. So it's 0-2. Niger's really given this club a shot in the arm since coming over. He's in at 306 on the season. He's given them a little bit of attitude, a little bit of swagger. It's been good internally. It's sometimes externally. It's created some hassles for his teammates. But that's Niger. He makes things happen. 0-2. That'll move the runner to third. So a productive at bat for Niger Morgan. The little things the Brewers have been doing all year. Here's your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. Yonder Alonso will be in left for you. Drew Stubbs back in center after having last night off, and Jay Bruce is over in right. Francisco's at third. Renteria and Phillips the double play combo. Joey Votto behind the plate, and Devin Mesoraco will catch Edinson Volquez. He did catch him a lot down at Louisville this year at AAA. That's your 4 defensive alignment. So here's Braun. Another magical year for this outstanding offensive player. He comes in at 330, 30 homers, 1 run batted in, away from 100 again. He's got 99 runs batted in. He's a 30-30 guy again, meaning stolen bases and home runs. He's the full package, Chris.
Well, there's no doubt about it, George. And every year, year after year, you make a list of who are going to be the MVP candidates, and Ryan Braun is on that list.
The backhand by Mesoraco as Hart was running down the line if it had gotten by him.
Well, this is a great example of what we were talking about with Edinson Volquez. Right here, you've got a guy who will be in the race or maybe the MVP of the league. If not him, maybe the guy behind him in the on-deck circle. So a pitcher naturally thinks, I've got to dial it up even more. So he has to resist that. Instead of trying to throw harder, he's got to throw smarter.
The Reds bring the right side of the infield in. In fact, watch Brandon Phillips. He's almost on the grass. And very seldom does Braun hit the ball on the ground to the right side. Usually he pulls it in the infield, and last night he did have a home run to right, but most of the time he'll go straight away, and in the outfield he'll hit the ball in the air to right.
Well, they're giving a whole bunch of right field line there, thinking he's not going to go that way.
Broken bat, bloop towards center. Renteria out. He won't get there, and the run will score.
How about that? Regular depth, that's an easy pop-up.
100 runs batted in for Braun. He broke a bat, did Volquez, but a positive result for Braun. So that's his 100th run batted in. The Brewers take a 1-0 lead.
Well, sometimes you do. You make a good pitch, and you end up with a negative outcome. Look at the movement on that fastball. Comes right in on the hands of Ryan Braun, and under normal circumstances that's an easy pop-up, no damage done. But when you're protecting against a run in the first inning, have your infield in, that drops it in no man's land.
And you can't forget about Braun down at first. He'll steal a bag if you don't keep him close. Here's Prince, fielder on the verge of 300. He's at 296. He already has 33 homers. And he's passed the 100 RBI mark at 110.
Well, you don't like that as a pitcher. You give up a couple of really poorly hit baseballs and you're down 1-0. One way on the end of the bat, one right in on the thumbs, and you're still out there pitching with one out.
It was a year ago that Joey Votto was the most valuable player in the National League, leading the Reds to the postseason. And no matter how you slice it, these two Brewers, Braun at first, Fielder at home, will be part of the MVP debate this year. Tough to pick between these two on this club, and you wonder if it might split their vote and hurt them in the overall tabulation. Runner not going. That's up high.
Well, I think both of these guys, George, are so much team players that they really could care more about their Milwaukee Brewer team going deep into the postseason, getting to the World Series, maybe winning a World Series title again for the Brewers, instead of worrying about who's going to get the MVP. I think that both of these guys are putting that way in the background.
Just missing on the corner.
I mean, because look at it this way. Ryan Braun is already wrapped up with a huge contract. I mean, winning an MVP would be nice to put on the shelf, but it's not going to earn him any more money. And Prince Fielder is going to make his money whether he gets the MVP or not.
He and Albert Pujols, the two big first basemen that will be free agents at the end of this year. Out in front, fouls it off. So far, Volquez has really handled Fielder. Prince is only 3 for 17 against him at 176. And ironically, Chris, in that start the other day, if anything, I think Volquez, who usually locates his fastball well, had difficulty locating his fastball and had better control of his breaking ball and his changeup. You need both against this guy.
Well, the number one thing you need is fastball command. And, you know, when Edinson shows you a little bit of that, he's not able to repeat it start after start. And that's why he spent half the year down in the minor leagues. But he's got a golden arm, and you're going to run him out there until he proves to you once and for all that he cannot make the adjustment. A little bigger lead now.
2-1 with the shift on against Prince Fielder. Renteria to the second base side of the second base.
Back-to-back changeups right there. That's what you're looking for if you're Ryan Braun. I mean, Edinson Volquez has now given up 16 stolen bases on the year. Reds catchers have only thrown out 4. So he's an easy guy to steal off of. He's got a deliberate move to the plate. He's slow. He doesn't have a great move to first base. You're looking for an off-speed pitch chance right here, and he likes to throw that off-speed changeup on a 2-strike count. So this just might be a spot here for Ryan Braun to try to swipe one.
Down and in, and we'll go full 3-2. Garth Ord's the first base coach. checking signs from across the infield. Runner going on the 3-2, and that's fouled off. And already in this first inning, Volquez is singing a similar refrain as he did in his last start, where he had 100 pitches in 5 innings. A lot of pitches already. 16.
Yeah, well, 16 of them already. I mean, he's only 1 pitch away from getting a ground ball to get out of the inning. Of course, it's going to be tougher to do now with Braun running on a 3-2 count.
Going again, and that's ball 4.
That's what you really get upset with, though, is that his decision pitch was a 2-2 count, not necessarily the 3-2 count. That's where you've got to throw a strike. He missed down and inside, tried to overthrow a fastball, and then Prince Fielder, being a good hitter, fouls one off, and he's going to wait you out until either you hang one for him or you're going to walk him, and that's what he's got now. So now you've got the makings of a big inning if you're the Brewers.
Here's McGee. In an up and down year, mostly down for this third baseman. They had counted on him to provide more power in the middle of this lineup. He comes in with only those 12 home runs, and that's in over 500 at bats. Two on, 1 out. McGee 0 for 5 in his career against Volquez. Which is the real Casey McGee?
Well, you know, what I've seen of Casey McGee this year is a guy that has gone through so many different types of stances, so many different approaches, maybe different strategies out there. I mean, he's probably trying everything that everybody has told him to get out of a season-long slump. He just looks confused. And the more confused you look, you walk up to the plate with no confidence at all. Here's a guy, look at the muscles busting out of this guy's uniform. I mean, he had a swagger to the plate. And we're going to drop that bat head on somebody instead of going up there hoping that he makes contact. And that's really what it looks like to me, that he's up there hoping.
Volquez hoping for a strike here. Got him to offer 1 up, and it's 2-1.
Well, that shows you how bad you're going, because you get a 2-0 pitch. You're telling yourself, all right, I want this ball down around right down the middle. And if it's not right down the middle, if it's not coming out of that pipeline, I'm not swinging the bat. But he's so anxious to do something, he'll hack at anything.
In the air to right, it'll stay in the park. Bruce under it. Braun tagging at second. He'll motor over to third. It'll be first and third with 2 away. The 6th batter of the inning. Here comes the shortstop, Uniesti Betancourt, as McGee heads back to the dugout. Jonathan Lucroy due to follow.
He changed his name on us midseason, didn't he? Early in the year, I thought it was Betancourt.
Yep.
And now he told us, or no, he didn't tell us personally, but we heard through the PR department of the Brewers that dropped the T.
Yep. Thank you, Chris Welp.
He's
popped up in the left.
It's no more grande for you, huh?
Mucho grande. 1-0 Brewers. Reds go to work. years with Mike Socha in Anaheim as the third base and bench coach. He may be the manager of the year in the National League this year. For Dusty Baker, who's been a manager of the year in the past, here's his starting lineup. Brandon Phillips back in the leadoff spot. Inching closer to 300 now at 298. Renteria bats second. Votto and Bruce at 3 and 4. Yonder Alonso will hit behind Bruce playing left. Then Francisco, Stubbs, Mesoraco, and Volquez. That's 1 through 9, your Reds starting lineup. And here is Giovanni Gallardo.
Well, he won 14 games last year, Gallardo did. He's already sitting on 16 this year. Of course, no help from the Reds right there. They beat him around pretty good in the 2 starts that he's had against the Cincinnati Ball Club. But coming off a very good outing, his last start against the Philadelphia Phillies, went 7 innings, struck out 12 in that ball game, and gave up a couple of runs, solo shots. But other than that, he really dominated. So he is throwing the ball very well just when the Brewers need him the most.
Phillips high in the air to center field. Morgan almost in his tracks.
Come on, Edgar, come on.
Squeezes it, and there's one away. Let's check your 4 defensive alignment for Ron Renicky. Ryan Braun, who's in left. Niger Morgan, great speed in center. And Corey Hart, outstanding arm in right. McGee's over at third. Counsell gets the start at second. Still, even at the age of 41, solid defensively. Prince Fielder, who's had an above-average defensive year, with Lucroy behind the plate for Gallardo. The Brewers 102 errors on the year. That's 17 more than the Reds. Corey Hart started the year on the disabled list. In fact, his first appearance of the season came when the Reds went to Milwaukee at the end of the month of April. Pulled muscle in his side, and when he's right, he's an impact player. He's had physical problems a good chunk of this year. Here's Edgar in at 259, 5 homers, 35 knocked in. Throughout his career, he's been a better second half player, and that's been true this year too. He averaged one time in the 230s, now up to 259, and he's over 400 in his last 9 games. Foul down the right field line. Great crowd on hand, and for good reason. Reds Hall of Famer Johnny Bench honored before the game with his statue unveiling outside Great American Ballpark. If you come down to the park, it's right by the Reds Hall of Fame. And while you look at the statue, go into the Hall of Fame and check out the exhibit, which is outstanding. We'll hear from JB a little bit later on tonight. Just as you wonder which Volquez will show up with Gallardo, when he's right, he's one of the best in the league, Chris.
Well, you're right, George. He throws about 60% fastballs. The other 40% split between a slider and a really great overhand curveball. There's a slider right there. That'll come in the mid-80s. The curveball's a lot slower. It's down around 79 to 80 miles an hour. Well, you'll know it when you see it. Not quite as slow as that 64-mile-an-hour tortoise that Randy Wolf was flipping up there last night, but man, that was effective.
The Reds' best opportunity came in the first when they did score a run, but an outstanding play by Ricky Weech short-circuited the rally, and the Reds never really mounted another rally against Wolf. There's a walk to Edgar, and here comes Joey Votto. Here comes your Farmers Insurance report card of the night. Joey, this year, to compare it to last year, Chris, you know, look at the numbers. I think really this was a better year than last year for him. Well, you consider also that having won the MVP last year, pitchers and teams are going to pitch around Joey Votto. He was not getting a whole lot of protection in the lineup at all. And so he was able to even better his numbers this year than last year, and with them walking him more, pitching around him more. I mean, Ryan Braun has Prince Fielder sitting behind him. Joey Votto doesn't have that kind of protection. One of the reasons why Joey leads the league in walks coming into tonight. That's drilled, knocked down by Counsell, and they'll get an out. Counsell moved over an extra step just prior to that pitch, and that's the difference between first and third and just a runner at second and the extra out made. Nice play by Counsell. Yeah, Counsell's been around a long time. He plays a lot of different positions. You know, he's a guy considering probably at the very end of his career, but they keep him around because of some leadership, also in plays like this. That's a great effort. He's a great player. Watch Counsell. There's the step right there, right before the pitch. And here's the difference as the ground ball comes to his left. And you know, Chris, there's some players, you know, remember when Darryl Strawberry used to play right, they used to call it the strawberry patch out in right field because he never moved. He always stood in the same spot. Counsell, you watch him from pitch to pitch. He'll watch the pitch call by the catcher, and he'll move, or sometimes he won't even move, but shift his weight from foot to foot. That's a smart ball player.
Well, if you move too early, remember, you're going to tip off a good hitter.
Yeah.
He's going to see that guy coming over there. And, you know, he moved into that hole towards first base, even though it was a fastball. I think he was guessing that Gallardo was going to throw that fastball inside to Joey Votto, and that's why he was leaning that way. But a lot of good hitters will look at that. They see those middle infielders one way or another to tip to pitch. They'll move a little bit one way, they'll know it's a breaking ball coming. If they move the other way, they know it's a fastball. And infielders have to be very aware of that.
Here's Jay with 31 homers and 92 knocked in on the season. Overall, 261, hitting behind Joey right now in this lineup with Yonder Alonso, another lefty to follow. Threads the needle on the outside corner, out in front, and it's 2-2. There's Yonder intently watching Gallardo out on the mound. Way out in front. And that'll end the Reds rally. A walk to Renteria, nothing to show for it. Going to the second, LUCROY will lead it off. Serious injuries. Here's a serious statues. Johnny Bench unveiling his statue outside the Reds Hall of Fame. What a job by Tom Teixeira. JB honored inside the ballpark prior to the game as well. Tossed out the first pitch to Joe Morgan, and a bonus, he didn't know about this. They named the Broadway right behind the ballpark Johnny Bench Way. Not a bad day. JB, it's his night here at Great American Ballpark. Your Elk and Elk Storylines brought to you by Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Dial 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Here's LUCROY, the catcher, hitting seventh. Counsell will follow. Second full year for LUCROY, and he's chimed in with 11 home runs. He spent some time on the disabled list this year also. And Chris, everybody wondered in April why the Brewers started so slowly, but they didn't have Greinke, they didn't have LUCROY, they didn't have Hart. They had 2 or 3 other injuries that really prevented them from putting their full lineup on the field really until May. And I think they didn't panic. And I think that was the stamp that Ron Renicky put on this club early. And they played their best baseball in the second half. And don't forget, you want Reds action? Well, it's here before every Reds game. Reds Live before every game on Fox Sports Ohio. Don't forget to stay with us as we continue to monitor not only this night with Johnny Bench, but monitor the final 2 weeks of the season. That's Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. As we head towards the conclusion of this season, Kent Dreamweaver will be keeping you up to date on the Reds' look towards 2012 with Reds Live before the game with Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro. Great to have Brian Giesenslaw with us today too, as Pick's doing Kentucky football. Here's Counsell, now 41 years of age, turned 41 in August. Only had 13 at bats against the Reds this year. His playing time has been sporadic, but when you put him in there, just like the last inning, I mean, he short-circuited a Reds rally with that defensive play.
There was a time this year that he couldn't buy a hit. I mean, he went about 40 at bats between hits, poor Craig Counsell did, but he hung in there. You take him batting practice every day. Just wondering when you're going to get a crooked number. And you know, they're going to give their guys some rest from time to time. I mean, their magic number is what, now down to 8, and they're able to probably breathe a little bit better, especially since they were able to win that ball game last night. I really thought, with the way the Reds have handled the Brewers here in Cincinnati this year, that last night's ball game was very, very important to this Milwaukee team. Had the Reds won that ball game and the Cardinals did win, now all of a sudden that lead shrinks a little bit more and momentum begins to slip away, and your ball club begins to tighten their grip on the bats a little bit, squeeze their fingers around the baseball a little bit more, overall just grip. And they don't seem to be able to. I was in their clubhouse today. It doesn't seem like that now. I think that game last night had a lot to do with it.
It was a deep breath game for them. I mean, just like last night when Beckett and the Red Sox won against Tampa Bay, they needed that. If Tampa Bay had won in that game, the start of the series in Boston, it would have had a different feel. And the Cardinals won again yesterday too, so they chopped off a game in the wild card, but they still stay behind in the division. Volquez gets his second strikeout of the inning. When we return, Alonso will lead it off. Check out the latest from our columnist on the Bengals trip to the Mile High City, the Buckeyes trip to South Beach. It's on FoxSportsOhio.com. Presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. Milwaukee scores a run in the first on a double by Hart and a single by Braun, and they lead it 1-0. Here's Yonder Alonso to lead it off as we go to the second. Number 5 is the applicable number of this night. Johnny Bench honored with a statue unveiled in his honor outside the ballpark. We'll talk to him a little bit later on tonight. Broadway right behind the ballpark named Johnny Bench Way. Prior to the game 2 and ceremonies on the field. Great to see Joe Morgan here, Doug Flynn, George Foster, Jim O'Toole, Davey Concepcion, the Chief, Cesar Geronimo. Great to see all those guys, Chris.
No doubt about it, George. A lot of them look great, too. Most of them do. And when they get together, boy, it is a raucous time.
Tommy Helms there, too. Tommy always looks good. Good to see him. He's still got his red jacket, too. He wears it to church on Sunday, too, I know.
I think he wore it to Oktoberfest today.
2 balls, 1 strike to Yonder. That's down and away. Alonso, since coming up, 370. 4 homers, 14 knocked in. He's gotten the attention of the teams the Reds have played, including the Brewers. Jerry Narron, Ron Renicky. This one hit high in the air to right center. Going back, Morgan at the wall. He didn't get it. It's a homer. It went off the thumb of his glove into the first row, and Yonder has his 5th round tripper. He hit that a mile high in the air. And it got a piece of the glove of Morgan, but Yonder will take the homer.
The Reds get that run back just like that. Yonder Alonso, you can say what you want about this ballpark giving up short home runs, and this is a short one. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Nyjer Morgan timed his leap perfectly and almost came up with a great catch. But he didn't knock it over the fence. That ball was out of here anyway. But that was a great swing that Yonder Alonso put on that ball.
He's got an idea at the plate. Make no mistake about it.
I'd like to see a whole lot of him next year.
It glanced just off the thumb of the glove of Morgan and dropped into the first row. He's still shaking his head. Tied up at 1. Here's Francisco. 1 ball, 2 strikes to 1. In at 250. 3 homers, 14 knocked in. Dusty Baker and his coaching staff have spent a lot of time talking to number 23 since he's been up, and Yonder very open to taking ground balls at third and playing out in left. And he's made it clear that on directions from the team and his own initiative, he's going to try to lose a few pounds, work on his running, work on his agility, and work in left field in preparation for next year. Did he go around? No, he didn't. Full count 3-2. He can hit, though, Chris.
You're right about that, George. But what makes him such an advanced hitter for his age is what you just spoke to, his knowledge of the strike zone, his reluctance to chase pitches that he can't handle. A lot of times you get that when you come out of a big-time college program. And by contrast, you have Juan Francisco. Francisco's got more raw power. He's got better bat speed overall and hit, more home runs if you give him the same number of at-bats. So look at that windup, though. I mean, that's a 3-2 pitch right there. I mean, he's got his leg lifted up. He's winding his front body back, coiling it, ready to go. I mean, there was no kind of hitting with the count for Juan Francisco. That's what you get sometimes, I think, when you go, through college and you play for a team like Miami University in Florida, as opposed to trying to hit your way off the island of the Dominican Republic. That's the way you do it when you're a young man, with the background of Juan Francisco.
Ted Williams always used to say, I don't want to even talk to a hitter till he has 1,000 at bats. Meaning you got to learn who you are, what you are, and will you adjust. Some adjust quicker than others.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes if you don't get some good licks in those first 1,000 at bats, you don't get another 1,000 at bats. You may get 500, and they'll write you off saying this guy's got no clue.
But when you got his kind of power, you'll get a few more.
You will.
How about Willie Mo Pena? He's still hanging around, isn't he?
Let's hope both those guys are way better than Willie Mo.
Yep. Here's Stubbs. He's in at 249, 15 homers, 43 knocked in. Drew says, I'm looking forward to going home, taking a deep breath, and then sitting down and reevaluating this season and preparing for next year. He'll take about a month off, begin to work out, and offensively, he said he's already started to sit down with the Reds hitting tandem of Dusty Baker and Brooke Jacoby to talk about how to get better for next year. And that's the one thing he's got to do, Chris, is cut down on those.
Well, he's a guy that reminds me a little bit of Casey McGee up there. You can see him thinking in the batter's box. You can see just a look of no confidence on his face, knowing that if I'm pitching against Drew Stubbs, I got a feeling whatever I throw up there, he's going to hack at, and he's going to get so nervous at the plate, eventually he's going to take a couple of pitches that are right down the middle. And it's, for me, it's all a mental thing for Drew Stubbs. I mean, he can go back and lift weights and run laps and do everything you can inside the gym. It's not going to help one bit. He's got to figure out how to overcome the mental demons of the strikeouts, because it's become an awfully big anchor on him. And he's got more talent, or as much talent as anybody on that ball club. And he's about as nice a kid as you'll ever want to meet in your life, and you pull for it. And I think he will eventually get it, but it just didn't happen this year.
Here's Mesoraco, no balls and 2 strikes to him. Down at Louisville this year, Devin was a midseason All-Star and a postseason All-Star as well. Grew in leaps and bounds behind the plate this year, and also he hit 3rd and 4th in the lineup too. Not that he's going to be doing that at the major league level, but it was for him a great fine-tuning as he comes to the major leagues to see how they pitched him in that slot. Johnny Bench signed out of high school. So did this guy. I mean, some go to college and learn in the books and don't learn in baseball. And I think in Devin's case, he's applied himself. You can really see the difference in watching him and in talking to Rick Sweet especially. He said he's been a good student for me this year. And there's no position on the field that's more important to be a good student than the catcher.
Well, he has really come on the last couple of years. I mean, I think the key is when you draft a kid out of high school is that you want to keep him playing long enough until he becomes a man. I was just up last week speaking to the folks up at the Dayton Dragons, and they told me when Devin Mesoraco came through there, he was nowhere near what he is right now. He was a boy right out of high school, and it's a difference now, much big difference.
Gallardo strikes out the side, but before that happened, this big swing from Yonder Alonso, his 5th homer. It ties this one up at 1.
Who the Reds were. How would I know that I would be part of one of the greatest teams, if not the greatest team, in the history of baseball? I am truly, truly honored. Thank you.
Our Geico quote, no thank you, Johnny Bench. Chris, you grew up here in Cincinnati. You had the chance to watch him grow and develop and become the star that he became on the field. And even more importantly, you watched him mature as a post-baseball operative in baseball. It's a pretty impressive career, huh?
Well, you know, the more you get to know Johnny Bench, the more you realize that there's a whole lot more to him than just being a baseball player. He understands the game as well as anybody, and just a few times we used to have him on the air, George. He'd come up there and as a third commentator would give us insight that, you know, that would be fresh to people who've been around the game their whole lives. He was a tremendous player. I had a challenge of playing against him. I remember one game I pitched against Johnny Bench and the Reds back in 1981. And as it turned out, I threw a shutout against the Reds. But Johnny Bench hit 3 balls to dead center field where Rupert Jones, my center fielder, caught him with his back to home plate, 420 feet away. And every time Bench would come by the mound, he'd utter something to me. First thing he said to me was, go warm up. Next time up, he hit the ball the same way. Rupert Jones caught it. He says, go warm up, you blankety blank. And the third time, I can't even say the blankety blank. But he was just so irritated because he hit 3 balls as hard as he could, and they stayed in the ballpark. He was the kind of guy that when you played against, you ratcheted up your game a little bit, knowing that he was already at that level.
I'll never forget being there in 1975 during the World Series, then in '76, and of course the great comment that Sparky made when they were trying to compare Johnny Bench and Thurman Munson and Carlton Fisk and the great American League catchers, and Sparky said, don't embarrass anybody by trying to compare them to Johnny Bench. And he meant that as a positive to Johnny, not a negative, but it got blown out of proportion that he was denigrating Fisk and Munson and the rest of them. But you know, over the years, spending the last 30 years going to the Hall of Fame, and Johnny got inducted in '89. One of the most enjoyable things for me is to watch every year when Sparky would go up, and Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Johnny Bench, they get together. We have an informal dinner on Friday night, and they always sat at the table together. And they would start to, it was like going back in time. They enjoyed each other. They loved each other. They told stories, and they got on each other, too. And I think more than anything, you saw what they did on the field, yes, but you saw what they shared off the field, too, which was so impressive. Renteria has to hustle with the speedy Morgan, and he gets him 2 away. And don't forget, tonight's Powerball jackpot is $20 million. $20 million, brought to you by the Ohio Lottery. Drawing at 11 tonight. Get your tickets. And in that same light, probably one of the most emotional moments for me at Cooperstown was last year, when we didn't know whether Sparky was going to come to Cooperstown because he had been ill all year. And he canceled a couple of appearances in the month before just to get his strength up. And when he got there, you had the feeling that he knew it might be his last visit to Cooperstown. And in setting up the seat assignments for everyone on the stage, we talked, and Jeff Idelson, the president of the Hall of Fame, we all discussed, you know, where people would sit. And we put Sparky next to Johnny because we knew Johnny would take care of Sparky sitting there during the course of the afternoon, which is a lengthy afternoon. And just I was sitting in the row in front of him, and every once in a while I'd turn around and ask Sparky if he needed a bottle of water or whatever. And to look at Johnny look at Sparky, it was like you looked at your dad, Dan, or I looked at my dad, and the love that, you know, he was taking care of him. It was like this was a special man for me, and the love that those two shared. I mean, it was a poignant moment. Sad moment in one respect, because we thought maybe this might have been Sparky's last visit, but to see the love that Johnny had for Sparky was just amazing.
That must have been amazing just being there.
Yep, it was. Hit hard down to short. Edgar takes care of it, and that's what Edinson Volquez needed. Another 1-2-3. 2 straight 1-2-3 innings. We're tied at 1. Volquez due up. Sign during tonight's game. Susan Duke of Franklin, Ohio, who currently owns a Toyota Prius, will win this beautiful new Tundra on display at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Either the truck or the sign up right. Great night last night, Chris. Warren County, the Sheriff's Department won the truck in the drawing held on the field that Dusty Baker presided over. And that's really a testament to the Toyota dealers too, because they shelled out the money for that truck. You explained it last night so well.
Yeah, you know what, if a player hits it, then it's covered by insurance. But at the end of the year, all the Toyota dealers, just like they did last year, got together and they reached into their pockets and they said, we're going to donate this. They raffled it off last year, raffled off another one this year. That's no cheap vehicle either. I'll tell you what, that is a very generous gift on the part of the local Toyota dealers.
Jesse's been trying to get that down all season long. He looked funny trying to drive that off that. Hey, hitting the road will take the Cincinnati Reds with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Reds game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Reds.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere.
Well, don't look now, but that is 4 strikeouts in a row now for Giovanni Gallardo. In fact, 5 out of the last 6. The only separation was that home run by Yonder Alonso. He dominated the Phillies in his last start, struck out 12 in that ball game, gave up only a couple of runs, both of them solo shots, and ended up nailing down his 16th win of the season.
It's 188 strikeouts on the season. He's heading towards a 200 strikeout year. Here's Brandon. Hit it on the button, but to the warning track in center field. First time up. Mom and Dad, James and Lou, are in town along with his younger brother, a minor league ball player. So it's a family weekend, final home weekend for the Reds here in Cincinnati. Great crowd on hand. Another over 30,000 crowd to honor Johnny Bench here tonight. Very pleasant night for baseball, and they'll be back at it again tomorrow for the final of this series. Hope you join us. And the Reds will host the Astros, and then it's on to Pittsburgh and the Mets to finish off the 2011 season. Line drive, sinking, Braun got it.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results. JTM.
Here's Edgar. He walked in the first inning. The lone Reds run came on a home run by Alonso to lead off the second. That followed a run scored by the Brewers in the first on a double by Hart and a single by Braun. You look at, and Chris, you and I will be together this weekend, then we'll be together again next weekend in Pittsburgh, and we'll go position by position next weekend to look ahead at the Reds for 2012. But when you talk about the shortstop position for next year, I mean, this year started as an audition for Paul Giannis to possibly take the job and own it. It became a coming out story for Zach Cozart, who played well to being injured. And you look towards 2012, and it's still a question mark, really.
Well, it is a question mark because the sample size on Cozart was rather small. Now, he was very impressive. Don't take me wrong on that. But can he do it over the course of the year? I mean, I would suggest that he can. I think that it needs something over there at shortstop. I don't think that Dusty Baker wants to go through the same kind of year he did this year, kind of flip-flopping guys, not sure what you're going to get. The first half of the year, there was a serious power outage at shortstop. And only here in the second half, and when Edgar Renteria started swinging the bat a whole lot better, did the offense pick up.
You know, the whole infield equation really also hinges on the status of Scott Rowland. I mean, Scott has told us that the shoulder feels better than it's felt in the last 3 years or so since the surgery. He'll continue to rehab. He's joining the club once again, and you're pointing towards the hope that he'll be healthy next year. and a contributor on the field and off. Here's Joey, bounced to second first time up, robbed of a hit on a diving stop by Counsell.
Well, that would be great. If Scott Rowland can finish off next year and be healthier than he was this year or last year, I mean, you're going to get some production out of him. You know what kind of defense he plays. And that was the real ticket for this ball club. The infield defense that they played here helped the pitching staff so much that you don't want to see that take a step backward. But you got to find offense somewhere. I mean, there was a black hole in left field as far as offense for the most part of this year. Is that question answered maybe with a platoon type situation between Alonso and Chris Heisey? Or will Walt Jocketty go out and get a proven bat?
One ball, one strike to Joey. That clips the corner for a strike. We were impressed by Joey Votto when he came up from the minor leagues in his approach. And it's a similar track that Yonder Alonso is taking in his early stages here as well. Both students of the game. There goes the runner. Half swing, bounced off the shortstop's shoulder into center field. It'll be first and third. Well, Yuniesky Betancourt had put together his two best defensive weeks of the year in the last 2 weeks. But in the last two nights, he's committed 2 errors on seemingly easy ground ball.
Well, it looked to me on this one that he was counting the double play before he had the ball in his glove. I mean, he says all of a sudden, wow, look at this gift coming my way. I'll just play it off to the side a little bit. And had he got in front of that ball, he would have been able to knock it down and be able to get at least one out.
Early in his career, he averaged in the mid-20s in errors, but he's been better the last 2 years. But the last 2 nights have been rough on him.
Well, that's the spot right there that Gallardo got Jay Bruce the first time up. Made him look bad on fastballs and changeups. Those sinkers away, and then he's got a changeup that he throws in there too. They're just going to stay right away from him.
The Beaumont Bomber, he's dialed it up to a tune of 31 homers this year, sitting on 92 runs batted in. Waves at that. And he's behind again. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, it's been sinker, changeup right there. And it's up now for Jay Bruce to adjust. I mean, here's a situation where the pitcher has the hitter in a spot where he's not adjusting. So why would you change if you're Gallardo? Why would you try to come inside right here? He's going to go right back out to that same spot one more time and see if he'll bite.
Gallardo trying to pick the pocket of Votto, nothing doing.
And the funny thing is you watch Jay Bruce in batting practice, he takes that low outside pitch and he lines it off the left field wall. I mean, he's got tons of power. It's a little different when you get that umpire behind there, and it's a real game.
The runner going to second. Did he go? Yes, he did, and he'll be tagged out. Down at third, the third base umpire, Mike Esterberg, said he went around. That'll end the Reds' rally. We're still tied at 1.
JTM Food Group, proudly serving America's restaurants, schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Powerade Ion 4. Focus, hustle, hydrate, believe.
Here we go to the fourth. Prince Fielder will walk first time up, will lead it off. McGee will follow. Phillies leading the Cardinals 1-0. They're in the fourth in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, Atlanta's leading the Mets. Rather beat that. That's a final now. Atlanta beat the Mets 1-0. So the pressure on the Cardinals in that wild card race tonight. This afternoon, Yankees beat Toronto 7-6. And Tampa Bay beat the Red Sox 4-3. So it continues in the American League East. That'll go down to the wire as well, both in the wild card hunt and in the matchups of who will play whom in the first round. Fielders sends this one to the left side of that second base bag, and this occasion at least the shift bites the Reds back, and Prince has a base hit. Time for our AT&T trivia question of the night. Let's see what Kent Dreamweaver's dug up tonight. Who was the first runner that Johnny Bench ever threw out? The first runner that he threw out.
You remember that game, don't you, George? Like it was yesterday.
Jesse does. He was there. I think Jesse got a ball signed after that game from Johnny. That's in his trunk. Rookie of the year. 10 Gold Gloves. And before the game today, I asked Jerry Narron, the former Reds manager, who was an outstanding defensive catcher in his own right. Like you, Chris, he came up through the Yankee organization. In fact, Jerry was the catcher who was behind the plate the day after Thurman Munson tragically passed away in his private plane accident. He was the catcher at Yankee Stadium that next day. I was there that day, and I mean, we both remember it as if it was yesterday, the emotion and the memory of it. I asked him, number one, who were the catchers that he would put on the top 5 list, and he listed Bench number 1 and Pudge number 2. Yogi Berra's in that top 5. He said he never saw Bill Dickey play, but everybody that he talked to through the Yankee organization believed in Bill Dickey. I guess you'd have to put Fisk somewhere in there when you combine offense and defense. Bob Boone,
he was Pudge.
The other Pudge, Rodriguez.
Okay, the original
I thought so too.
Fisk.
You know,
and now you're talking about Rodriguez.
I thought he meant Fisk at first too, and he meant Rodriguez. It's a pretty good list, though, huh?
You'd be pretty well set with either of those guys, or any of them. Of course, we had Johnny. Everybody else comes in second place.
A distant second in many cases. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fielder off first. Renteria scoops. He'll tap the bag himself. Nice job at both ends. Renteria makes the play. Votto digs it out, and it's a neat double play.
Well, how many times has Joey Votto saved an infielder of an error this year? Now, that's a nice play by Renteria. I'm not taking anything away from him on that. He's got to kind of get that ball, change directions, and come back a couple of steps to tag the bag. But Votto gets right down there like he's fielding a ground ball. Look how low he is. When he finally gets this ball, he's way down there. He goes, I'm going to see that ball go right into my glove. And he has scooped so many this year, and one of the better scoopers in the league. And believe it or not, they keep a stat on that.
Yep. You saw that Bill Chuck file on that?
Yeah.
He does a great job, doesn't he? Nice job by Edgar. That erases the base runner. So 2 away. And here's Unieski, who flied to left first time up. I'm looking forward to the first year that Joey Votto wins a Gold Glove. And I think that's going to happen. I think he's got, and Prince Fielder as well, has gotten better and better each year defensively. But with the amount of time and effort that Joey has put in defensively, he's going to have one on his mantle one of these days. And good offensive players. I think you talked to Wade Boggs. Remember what year he won the Gold Glove? I mean, I think he cherishes that Gold Glove more than all the batting titles he had and everything else.
Because it was easier for him to hit than it was to catch.
Yeah. You know, back to Jerry Narron too. I asked him about who are the best catching instructors you've come across in your career, and he went back to his days with some of the players that he's been around. He mentioned Dave Ricketts, who was with the Cardinals, and of course he said Dave Ricketts also, you can credit a lot of what Mike Stefanski has done, and he said Mike Stefanski in his mind should be a major league coach and a major league manager someday.
I don't think, I'm not sure about the managerial part, but because he hasn't managed in the minor leagues, and the Reds wanted him for a long time to go down to the minor leagues to do that. Of course, Mike Stefanski is the bullpen catcher down there, and he's not officially a coach. But I've done some tech talks in the past with Mike Stefanski, and I've done them with every catcher the Reds have run through here over the last 15 years. And I can tell you that no one breaks it down any better than Stefanski does. I mean, he is an excellent instructor. And the good thing is he's available to people right here in the Cincinnati area in the wintertime giving instruction. So there are a lot of youngsters in this area that get that benefit.
This hit pretty good to right center, going back, and it is gone. Doesn't happen often. It's the 12th time this year that he's done it. Unieski dials up a homer, and it's a lead for Milwaukee 2-1.
Well, he hung in there nicely on the at bat, and he takes that ball the other way. We saw the Brewers hit some opposite field home runs last night, namely Ryan Braun, but this time that ball up in the zone. And you know, even when you throw as hard as Edinson Volquez in this ballpark, when you pitch around the letters, you're just asking for trouble. He had been effective the previous 2 innings, 1, 2, 3 innings, by keeping that ball down around the knees. And you know, sometimes you get your hand on the side of the baseball and it just rides up in the zone on you, and that's what happened right there for Edinson.
2-1 Milwaukee. Alonso's homered for the Reds, and Unieski dials one up for the 12th time to give Milwaukee a 2-1 lead.
Down there is where you want to live.
Another guy on that catching list, former Red, Russ Nixon, outstanding instructor of catching. You know, another guy who's very good right now in Boston is the bullpen coach, Gary Tuck. He's been outstanding as a catching instructor. The Reds have been blessed.
You would have got me on that one, George. If you would have said, give me a list of all the finest catching instructors, I'm not so sure I would have included Gary Tuck. You got me.
I'd put Rick Sweet on that too.
Well, the Reds have been very, you know, it's funny how many former catchers make their way through either managerial ranks in the minor leagues or coaching ranks in the major league. Mark Berry, third base coach, was a catcher. Of course, Porky Lopez, Juan Lopez, was a catcher in his days as a minor league player. Ryan Hannigan breaks it down. We did some tech talks with him that were outstanding. Ramon Hernandez was great. I learned a lot from every one of them. I may come back as a left-handed catcher.
You're in there. You're on my team anytime. 2-1 Milwaukee. Want to make your major league dream come true in Goodyear, Arizona, February 4th through the 11th. Suit up alongside fellow Reds fans, receive coaching from Reds legends and more during the 2012 Reds Fantasy Camp. For more info, visit reds.com/fantasy camp. And some of the guys who are here tonight, Chris, are going to be there for Fantasy Camp.
Well, Doug Flynn runs the whole show. He's the field coordinator and does a great job. See Jim Maloney down there from time to time. We have had in the past. We've had Tommy Helms. George Foster has been down there. Or recently we see guys like Brad the Animal Leslie and Kent Merker. Great to see those guys.
Merck will keep you alive.
Merck is one of the best ever.
Alonso left center. There goes Morgan. He got it. The speed is a wonderful thing. Alonso hit it right on the button in Niger. He used to call center field Morgantown when he was in Pittsburgh. Well, he makes Morgantown pay here.
You got to figure that Niger Morgan, after barely missing, robbing that home run of Alonso his first time up, that he was going to pay him Alonso back one way or another. And he just runs this ball down the gap. I thought that ball had double written all over it.
I think Yonder did also.
It's a nice pickup they made.
Yep. Every year is different. Every year is special. That's a hard hit ball. Betancourt comes up with a brilliant play to get the out. He may have booted the other one, but boy, this one almost took his head off, and he still makes an out of it. So two balls blistered, and how about this?
This feels awfully good as a pitcher to know that you give up 2 bolts in a matter of 3 different pitches. One, your center fielder runs down into the gap, takes an extra base hit away. The other, this ball nearly undresses your shortstop. You look up and you got 2 outs. Thank you very much.
Two Rockets, 2 putouts, and here comes Drew Stubbs hitting in the 7th spot tonight. Economical so far. Gallardo will deliver his 63rd pitch of the night here in the 4th inning. And Drew's in a hole 0-2. Okay, the question is at Fantasy Camp, and you had some great guys there. Who tells the best stories?
Lee May.
Yep, still the champion, right?
The repartee between Lee May and Jack Billingham and Billy Hatcher in there too is worth the price of the admission. I mean, it is absolutely hysterical. And I just hope I get teamed up with Mo one more time, because what a gem.
One ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss, and Stubbs strikes out for the 2nd time. That's 7 strikeouts on the night for Gallardo. 2-1 Milwaukee lead. Gallardo due up 2nd. Good one from Kent Dreamweaver. Who was the first runner that Johnny Bench ever tossed out trying to steal? Jesus Salou, August 31st, 1967, Bench's 4th career game. And Johnny regularly during those years led the league in catching runners. I wonder if he remembered that.
How are you supposed to get? You know what? We're going to ask him that.
Yeah.
Because in the trivia question, something that you may have seen and might remember.
Now, Pete would remember. That's one thing about Pete, right? If you ask Pete,
oh yeah,
who got the first hit? Bob Friend. What was your first stolen base? Who was it off? Pete would remember all of that.
I want to see the look on Bench's face when you ask him that question.
I thought you were going to ask him. We'll tell him Jesse came up with it. Boy, it's so great to watch him today and bask in the glory of this day. Man, what a special day for Johnny and a special day for the Reds. And there's a bouncer down to first but foul. And you thank a lot of people. I mean, the Hall of Fame, Rick and all his people do a tremendous job. The exhibit was magnificent. But the bottom line, it starts with Bob Castellini to bring history and tradition back to this ballpark, back to the city, and honor it the way the Reds are doing now. And Bob has said, and Johnny reiterated it today and got a big ovation. And he said when they first asked me, I said I want all the big guys from that Big Red Machine era together, and he was assured that it will happen, that Morgan and Rose, Perez will be honored as well in the years to come. Phillips off balance. Nice play both ends. Counsell retired, one away.
I think Brandon Phillips is the kind of player that you don't appreciate. I mean, you appreciate him because every night he makes a great highlight play. But wait till he's not there to play second base. Then you really appreciate him. I mean, he has saved pitchers so many pitches, so many outs, so many hits against per inning. It's like a vacuum cleaner. A big one.
Hey, you and I have been doing games together for 19 years now, and for so many years, I mean, we said it regularly that every time a ball was hit down to third, you held your breath most of the time with the parade of people that were down there. As soon as you got Scott rolling, you just relaxed when a ball was hit down there.
Well, you take him to second base. I mean, the Reds have had some good ones. Brett Boone was as good as they came back in his day, especially going to his left, but he didn't go to his right anywhere near the way that Brandon Phillips does. Pokey Reese was very good, but he was nowhere near as consistent, and he didn't give you anywhere near the at-bats, good at-bats that Brandon does. I mean, you're talking about an irreplaceable player. Now, can you move him and move on and have a good team? Absolutely.
Gallardo strikes out. Third strikeout for Volquez. While all this has been going on, Chris, we started the game, and thus far as we're into the 5th inning, your report card on Edinson Volquez today.
Calm down a little bit. I mean, that was the biggest thing we said in the very beginning. Just drink a glass of milk instead of a cup of coffee out there. And that's what Edinson Volquez needs to do before a ball game. Just relax a little bit and let that natural talent come to the top, because he's got plenty of it. But that really is one of the things that separates great athletes from other ones. I mean, those players who are able to slow the game down in any sport. And, I don't think there's a whole lot of pitchers that have more physical talent than Volquez, but there are guys that are able to control their emotions better and control their bodily movement better, and that's why they're better pitchers.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Corey Hart. Hart led off the game with a ball bounding over the third base bag that went down the line for his 20th double of the season. And 1 out later, Braun singled him in to give Milwaukee a 1-0 lead. Reds tied it on a home run by Alonso, and then Betancourt's home run made it 2-1. That'll take care of it. Thanks to Ed. You're 1, 2, 3 for Edinson. He's due up second as we go to the bottom of 5. Sports Ohio on the road to glory Thursday night when Coleraine travels to Middletown to face the Middies. High school game of the week kicks off Thursday night at 7 with Brad Johansson and Dave Lapham on the call right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Ryan Hunterman, who's in the director's chair tonight, will be riding herd over that one. Great job on high school football all season long. You'll get it right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Pop back and out of play for a strike. No balls, 2 strikes to the Reds catcher Devin Mesoraco, who struck out his first time up. 2 runs, 4 hits for Milwaukee. A run, only 2 hits for the Reds. So the other side of the coin, Giovanni Gallardo's been pretty tough too. Only the home run to Alonso, and he struck out 7 through 4. Make it 8. Time for our Honda standings update, and going into play today in the East, Philadelphia with an 11.5 game lead over Atlanta. Milwaukee with that 5.5 game lead over the Cardinals, and in the West, San Francisco clinging to life 6 games back. Now the wild card interesting. Atlanta 4 games ahead of St. Louis. The victory today by the Braves 1-0 over the Mets, and the Cardinals now trail the Phillies 2-0 in the 5th. Here's Edinson, who struck out in the 3rd. This looks like we really won't know the matchups in postseason play until we get down to the final couple of days of the season. If it were to start today in the National League, Philadelphia would play Arizona now. Arizona jumped ahead of Atlanta after the Braves lost yesterday. And Arizona owns the tiebreaker over Milwaukee after winning the season series 4-3 if they should end tied. Tonight's Powerball jackpot, 20 million buckaroos, brought to you by the Ohio Lottery. You can still pick up a ticket before the drawing at 11 o'clock tonight. Powerball 2011. Put 2 away and back to the top of the order. Here's Brandon Phillips. This rotation has come together for the Brewers. Starting pitching 5th in the league coming in with an overall ERA of about 3.7. Their relief pitchers 6th in the league. On the Reds' hand, the Reds starting pitchers ERA ranks 13th, and their ERA in the bullpen ranks 11th. Great job by Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach.
Well, you can't forget, though, that when they didn't go out and get unknown quantities as far as pitchers go. They went out and got Major League established pitchers, and it was Doug Melvin that rolled the dice by trading away a lot of talent to do that. You bring in Zach Greinke. Everybody knows in the American League how dominant he can be, and he's really throwing the ball well now. Sean Markham was a really shrewd move, I think, by the Brewers to get him from Toronto. But when they got K-Rod, Francisco Rodriguez, and they got Saito back in the bullpen, all of a sudden their whole pitching staff is healthy now, and this is a ball club that can shorten the ball game, because if your starter can get to the 7th inning with the Brewers, there's a real good chance they're slamming the door behind you.
Now, it's great to watch benches. Even if you're sitting at home, you can learn a lot from a team, a staff, an organization as you watch on television. And you watch Ron Renicky. He comes from the Mike Scioscia school, and you watch Scioscia night in and night out. And he'll be talking to his pitching coach, his hitting coach, his bench coach on a regular basis. You watch Renicky. I mean, he'll make the decisions, yes, but he's got Dale Swain behind him. He's got Jerry Narron next to him. Rick Kranitz is usually next to him as well. Garth Orge is usually there too. In the end, there's T-Bone John Shelby, who's their eye in the sky, who's in uniform here in the final weeks of the season. But
I was wondering when we were going to get the T-Bone Shelby recognition.
That's it.
It took to the second day, George, you know.
He's the best.
He is.
Talk about a positive guy. He and Trina and their kids. And
he's sending the Bat Boys upstairs to find out that that Louisville, Kentucky score. He's got half his family down there wearing big blue.
What a first-class person. Great baseball man, yes, but a first-class individual.
Run, Brandon.
Run. That'll kick away down the line, but Brandon will stop at first. Phillips unhappy with himself after swinging at that, so that make that 10 strikeouts for Gallardo as he strikes out the side, but with the ball in the dirt getting away from LUCROY, he goes to first. That's the most number of strikeouts that Gallardo's ever had in a start against the Reds.
You know, early in his career, he really handled the Reds very well. But the last 4 or 5 starts he's had against the Reds, they have had their way with him. And what you see with Gallardo are games like this where he can be dominant, but then he'll go through a streak where he gets wild and he'll walk a few batters, hang a pitch, and all of a sudden he's looking at a loss.
I haven't really made note of the breakout of pitches tonight, Chris, but the one thing I noticed different than when we faced him the first time and then when he faced the Reds here the second time, he's throwing his breaking ball late in the count instead of early in the count. He opened up a lot of hitters back in April with his breaking ball early and got himself behind in the count.
Well, you know, I think tonight, though, you're seeing more sliders and curveballs, too. He's thrown a few curves, but more sliders. And that's the slider right there. What he normally throws is, like I said earlier on, 60% fastballs, 20% curves, and 20% sliders. Now, he's thrown a good changeup to Jay Bruce, so he's got that in his repertoire, but he doesn't throw that very often except to left-handers.
I mean, off the top of my head, I see he's probably 10% curveballs tonight.
Yeah, you're right.
0-1. Let's see if the Reds can take advantage of the opportunity here in the 5th with Phillips on.
And here he is at 80 pitches in the 5th inning. That's not an extreme lot, but remember that he's had an error behind him that would have been a double play ball. He's just struck a batter out with a wild pitch that would have been the 3rd out. So all these pitches now are extra pitches that are going on his arm. And he really, in a perfect game, he would not have to worry about it.
They usually try to keep him around 105, 110 pitches for a start.
I think he's elevated his game. Obviously, you know, you bring in Zach Greinke, a real fine pitcher, Sean Markham, and all of a sudden you have a little internal competition. And this is what the Reds thought they were going to have with their pitching staff coming out of spring training. Problem is they couldn't stay healthy.
Phillips going. There'll be no throw as it's bobbled by LUCROY. Brandon gets the bag. The tying run now in scoring position out at second, and Brandon Phillips. 11 stolen base here. Hart comes in a step or two in right. Good arm in right. Renteria very often goes that way. Look out. That'll end it. Gallardo is the second Brewer to strike out 4 batters in an inning this year, and the Reds' rally is gone. Tomorrow, we'd like to show our thanks during Fan Appreciation Day presented by Walgreens. There'll be drawings for fan prizes throughout the game. For tickets to see your Redlegs and Brewers, call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com today. Still 2-1 ball game as we head to the top of the 6th inning. Niger Morgan bounced out twice. Will lead it off. Volquez sitting at 80 pitches as we go to the 6th inning. A successful start for Volquez, but the Reds have struggled for runs against Gallardo. That's a base hit into right. So Morgan is on. Don't forget, you can join your Cincinnati Reds in Goodyear, Arizona for spring training next spring. New this year, Reds spring training package, which includes an exclusive meet and greet with Reds personnel, custom Reds merchandise, great seats to watch your Reds, and a whole lot more. For information on 2012 spring training, visit Reds.com/spring training travel today. Stolen base potential down at first in a 1-run ball game. And here comes Braun. In the first, Braun's single gave the Brewers a 1-0 lead, his 100th run batted into the year. That'll get by everybody all the way to the backstop. They don't need a stolen base to get him in scoring position. Cross up there.
Well, not very good fundamentals right there for Devin Mesoraco. And now we gave a list of all the finest catching instructors that we've talked about, and every one of them will critique that the same way. You turn your fingers down, you block that ball, you want to make sure that ball doesn't get by you. And he's got a little polishing to do. I mean, it's his first time in the big leagues.
A runner at second, still no one out. That's a strike to Braun.
You have to resist here, though, if you're Edinson Volquez. Same thing you found when you faced Braun and Fielder the first time. Resist the temptation to try to rear back and throw too hard. You're not going to get them out with your stuff. You're going to give them a chance to get themselves out by throwing the ball where you want to. And he is staying right downstairs. That's good arm action, good movement to the plate. Keeping his head nice and still. Look at a follow through right towards his target. That was what excites you about Edinson Volquez.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Braun. Phillips trying to keep Morgan tight at second. Just hanging in is Braun, and it stays 1-2.
You know, Edinson Volquez has always been a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, changeup, and he taught himself a curveball when he came back from Tommy John surgery. They've also experimented with a slider. It looks like the breaking ball that he throws tonight is a little more like a slider than the curveball. Eventually, you'd like to see him have the ability to throw both, because this would be a great spot to kind of change speeds, bounce one down the dirt, and have Braun chase it right here. You've set him up for it. There's a changeup, and that's a good one.
One of his mentors, Mario Soto, was an outstanding pitcher with just 2 pitches, and this changeup is a pretty darn good one.
But look at the action on it. I mean, it starts in the center of the plate, and by the time it gets to Devin Mesoraco, it's a foot inside. All set up because he got ahead of Braun with fastballs early in the count.
Don't take any chances with the big guy. With first base open, they will walk Prince Fielder for the 2nd time tonight. He's walked once and singled to center. And that'll bring up Casey McGee. Final of the series tomorrow. Dontrell Willis will try again for his first win as a Red. He'll go against Zach Greinke. He'll try for his 15th victory of the season. And the Reds will host the Astros on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and head to Pittsburgh after an off day on Thursday. So 2 on 1 out, trying to set up another double play ground ball from McGee. After Fielder singled in the 4th, McGee bounced to short for a twin killing. That looms even more important now because the guy right after him, Betancourt, homer. And Mesoraco will go out and chat with Volquez. By the way, update for you: when we left you last night, Ramon Hernandez was limping off the field after fouling that ball off his left leg. I mean, there were people in the Reds dugout wondered, they wanted to x-ray it, make sure he was okay. They were afraid he might have even broken a bone in that leg. As it turned out, just a severe bruise. He is available tonight. But he was a hurting puppy last night.
He's a gamer, though. I'll tell you what, stayed in the ball game. Tough guy.
Yep. He said they wanted me to come out. I said no, no, no. I never want to leave. Nobody ever wants to leave the field, do you? One ball, one strike to McGee. There's another look from last night, Chris.
Ooh.
Still hurts.
That's in slow motion, and how fast that ball went off the bat onto shin. I mean, that is a Hall of Fame shin burger right there.
Oh. 2-1. Rip, but foul down the left field line.
Well, Volquez has got him where he wants him. Right now, he's behind the fastball, ahead of the changeup, and Casey McGee knows that. He's telling himself now, stay back, stay back. Good time to run a fastball right by him.
Morgan single, went to second on a pass ball. Fielder walk. Yeah, nasty, huh?
Well, it's a changeup and not a fastball. It really doesn't matter. It's all about location. And look where this ball is. Way down there on the bottom end of the strike zone.
So 2 away. Infielders drop back a step now. Still first and second. And here comes Betancourt. The fly to left and homer to center.
Yeah, keep it down on him. The home run he hit was way up around his shoulders. Watch as Jim Day visits Cincinnati USA's must-see attractions. Where in Cincinnati, USA is Jim Day? Tune in to Fox Sports Ohio and find out.
Some happy feet down at second, and Niger Morgan taking as big a lead as he can. Now with 2 outs, the Reds split the difference between the bag behind them. Ripped down the line, curving, foul. Great to have you with us here at Great American tonight. Coming up, we'll be talking with Johnny Bench to reflect on this very memorable night for him. George Grand, Chris Welsh, Jim Day, Brian Giesenslaw on the case for us tonight up in the booth. Jesse Jackson, Joel Luckham down in the truck. Kent Dreamweaver, our producer tonight. Great to have him back in the chair. Good job, Dream. Brian Hunterman, our director. Lauren White and Kevin Pennewitt assisting in the truck, and Matt Sigafus has moved over to do the pregame festivities tonight. Great job, Siggy, on the extended pregame in honor of Johnny Bench today. 1 ball, 2 strikes. In the dirt, nice smother by Mesoraco. And in the back of the truck, John Browdy's trying to keep tabs of the Syracuse USC game. Way back in the truck. Browdy's the only one that would leave town to go see a Syracuse USC game or a lacrosse game. You know he would go. He and Benji would definitely be there for a lacrosse game. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Just missing on the corner. Volquez thought he had it.
Credit Betancourt for laying off of that one. Awfully close. 3-2. Base runners are going to be going right here with 2 outs. Throw a strike.
That's in to the left. It'll drop for a hit. A run will score. Going to third will be Fielder. It's first and third. How many times do you say, Chris, you want the decision with the runners on the 2-2 pitch, not the 3-2 pitch?
Well, you know, well, I have a problem with this particular pitch, George. It's easy to second guess, but, you know, he's got a good fastball. And that is a second pitch in the low 80s that he's thrown, actually the 3rd or 4th in a row that he's thrown to Betancourt. And I think that he's afraid of getting that ball, a fastball to him, because he got taken deep with a fastball. And sometimes you shy away from it. I mean, but his best pitch, whether you like it or not, Edinson Volquez, is your heater. And don't leave it at home. Don't fall in love with all the sugar. You just go back to that bread and butter and rear back and fire up a fastball every once in a while. And that would have been a good spot for Betancourt.
Brian Price out to talk to Edinson. Volquez now over the 100 pitch count at 101. Arredondo has started to loosen in the bullpen for Cincinnati. Only the 6th hit of the night that Edinson has allowed, but here it's made the lead a 2-run bulge, 3-1 for the Brew Crew. Now Prince is over at third. Betancourt down at first. And here comes the catcher, Jonathan Lucroy. Strikeout and a ground out his first 2 at-bats. Good numbers in clutch situations. He's come up with some big hits for the Brewers this year. That's in there for a strike. One strike to the Brew Crew's catcher. That's a liner right at Brandon. He picks it off in the air, but the damage done. A run scoring hit by Betancourt. He's got 2 RBI on the day. Reds need some runs. At the bottom of 6 we go. They trail at 3-1. time for the Coors Light freeze cam. What a night. Oh, what a night. There it is, the JB Johnny Bench statue. Who is that guy? Coors Light freeze cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. The best part of the night, JB. What a night.
Oh, what a night is right. Oh, what a night. They want me to sing it back in '65. Okay. Hey, it is. It's beautiful now. And, of course, it's only fitting that my boy comes up to the plate. 2 rockets he's hit tonight.
Yep.
One in the hole, pulled down by the nice play of, is that Gander out at second?
Council.
Great play by
Council.
Council at this point.
Look at Jimmy's still around.
That's why I'm wearing glasses now. You got to do it. And then
Jimmy's still
up
there.
The middle and everything else. They should have given him a base hit on that. I know Jimmy's had a little hit there. But it was a tremendous night. I can't tell you how excited I was. I think I mentioned in my speech that, you know, for me, it's as big or bigger than, you know, Cooperstown. I mean, this statue will stand. My boys were, you know, weren't born, and so it's a chance for all of us to, you know, be proud of it. And we're well represented. We've got the past, and now we've got the future, and that's. Now, see, I'm going to have a better look at it here. I was so close to it. 1972, folks. They still have the sideburns. Look at that ball coming out of there. And we'll look at a strike 3-1, 3-0.
Hey, how about this guy at the plate too? I mean, you step in as he steps into the batter's box. What a remarkable career he's starting off on.
Well, he's a great kid, you know. And I saw him, a kid named Grueller. They brought me down to look at him, and he was going to be the #1 draft choice. And I saw this guy at first base, and I said, "Who's that?" He was swinging the bat, and they said, "Oh, he's a kid out of Toronto." I said, "Well, I think I'd take a better look at him if I were you." So. And, you know, he's gone through some little tough times with his father and stuff and everything else, and we all do. You know, tonight, Dad and Sparky were up there having a, you know,
you're not kidding,
relaxing time. Harry was there, too, doing the color and play-by-play. Now the 3-2 pitch. Here's Gallardo, and he misses down and in. And there, that's number 143 walks or something, you know.
We just got fired.
This is what it's all about. This is fun, and this ballpark is absolutely wonderful. I mean, you know, a full crowd here tonight, such a great thing, and the Reds. I think the one goal in mind is to get back to 500.
Yep.
And now I have a street named after me.
Yeah.
George.
How about that? That surprised you. You didn't expect that.
I thought it was an alley. I really did. I thought it was going to be an alley.
In between, that would have been your spot, right?
I wouldn't have cared. That was so great, you know, and it was nice of the mayor and the council to do that. Look at that. Look at that. That is it.
You know, the bottom line to all of this, boy, Bob Castellini has really brought history, tradition, and love for what all of you did for this franchise back to Cincinnati.
Well, I'm just proud of him. I'm proud of the whole family and the effort that they've made to bring baseball and excitement back. And you know, it's just up to the fans to come out and support. They got a great young team. You know, those 3 games just before the All-Star break, Chris, really damaged us, and it really uplifted Milwaukee with 19 out of 22. And you know, here's a kid that still hasn't reached his potential. You know, he's just still floundering a little bit, trying to get the stroke. He's had problems. You know, the front foot is so fast, the front knee is so fast, and if he'd just curl, I mean, there's no telling, because he overcommits himself. Watch his front knee better, but it's so quick and it's late. You know, you just can't be that late, because you got to put it down, and then that vision changes and everything else.
What do you mean by curl?
Well, the front knee goes forward at any time you pitch to them, because they're an out.
Right.
You know, it's just got to be once in a while they'll throw a pitch into an area where they can do it. But, you know, 80% of all the pitches are out pitches. See, there's a pitch away, and he's got his foot down so fast that now, you know, when the spine angle changes, then he comes up and he can't catch up with it. I mean, those were just 3 swings that really, watch his front foot, but watch how fast, you know, he has to land it. You see the knee go? And once the front knee took off,
right,
then it pulls everything right, and then it's just an arm swing. It's like hitting somebody flat-footed with your hips going one way and you going the other.
So, but I watch him in batting practice, and he seems to be able to do that in BP. Now, I know it's just 5 o'clock, and it's a lot easier, but how do you make that transition? How do you get Jay Bruce to make the transition from being a guy that hits the ball to left field at 5 o'clock to somebody who does what you just described here during the ball game?
Well, it's pretty easy when you're throwing straight, and you've got one speed and you've got rhythm. All of a sudden, they start changing speeds a little bit, and then you get caught in between. And, you know, if he would just curl early, the only thing Clue ever said was get your hands back. Get your hands back. Now, this is a kid, Gallardo, that you got to really like. I mean, he's got an 80-mile-an-hour changeup, a 92, 93-mile-an-hour fastball, you know, and he's got a pretty good, you know, breaking ball to mix in with it. So the whole combination of what it is has really made them effective. I mean, they went, what, 19 out of 22 right away, and it really changes. But this kid's got a strong arm. I mean, he pitches deep in the count. He's got good location, and this is just a ball club young ball club that's got so much going for it, and it should be exciting to all the fans out here.
You've watched Yonder Alonso down at spring training. You've watched him develop. It looks like he has an idea at the plate, doesn't he?
Well, he does. He's a hitter. Now watch him. He'll curl. He does the curl with the leg, but it's early and it's shorter. It's really tight. You know, so he's still, you know, there's a lot of bottom movement, you know, and you know, that all you want to do is have the hips curl. If you start your hands back, so he's still got his hips closed, and that's what I want to see. I don't want to see that, you know, that foot, if it lands and the hips automatically fly. Now he really doesn't have a chance to get to the ball, and then once in a while you get it into a zone and you'll hit it 500 feet, but I love it. You know, I'm having a great time. You know, I pull so hard. I sit, you know, I got the iPad. I watch you know, I'm watching the bats. I'm listening to the games. I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm enjoying it. And you know, I'm just still. These kids are so good and so nice, and you want to pull so hard for them.
You're enjoying life now, aren't you? I mean, it's great to see Bobby, how he's developed as a young man, and your young family too. It's a special time for you. Well,
you know, a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, you know, kindergarten and changing diapers, so it's I feel great. You know, I went through I got acute pancreatitis in the hospital 5 days on IVs, and then I've had both hips replaced. I got a little problem with my left knee right now, but the warranties run out on most of the parts.
Great to have the guys back, though, from the Big Red Machine era. I mean, when you guys get together, it becomes just a storytelling fest.
I mean, and now George, who never said a word.
They can't shut him up.
Can't shut him up. We always give him trouble, and he doesn't do it. But, you know, it is. It's like stepping back to another era, and you got Davey, and Cesar still looks the same, and Doug Flynn just had hip replacement, and he's absolutely wonderful.
Look at that. Him out, throw him out, double play. We'll be back with Johnny Bench on his night at Great American Ballpark after these messages.
AT&T. Cincinnati Children's ranks 3rd in the nation on U.S. News and World Report's honor roll for Best Children's Hospitals 2011. By your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by Wendy's. You know when it's real.
Welcome back to Great American Ballpark. It's, a Big Red Machine reunion, and they're eating as usual, JB, on this night where we honor Johnny Bench with his number 5 right behind home plate and a brand new statue. Boy, Tom Teixeira did a great job on that.
He really
statue.
did, yeah. He was so, he came down and he took pictures and positions. We talked about what I wanted, and he took 100 pictures and videos and everything else. And yeah, I mean, hey, he did a good job on the other ones, and this is a situation where, this is what he does. But, it looks pretty good right there, doesn't it?
You really let him down if he didn't do a good job.
Here's a guy, we left spring training, Chris, was 7 starters that we thought could be all #1 starters almost, equal.
Just goes to show you how many you really go through during the course of a year. It's hard to keep them all healthy.
Why?
I mean, did you have a pitching staff that threw as hard as these guys are throwing now, though? I mean, Volquez is dialing it up there, mid-90s.
No. I mean, that's what's happened in the game.
Is that one of the problems with injuries? Guys just throwing harder than they're able to?
Hey, if you put that stress on your arm, shoulder, elbow, and you land in a position or whatever, you're bound to have something, and that's the game that's changed. Like San Francisco last year had 4 guys out of the bullpen throwing 95+.
Now, what did you do to keep your arm strong during your career? I mean, you're one of the best arms around.
I didn't do much fooling around with it. I mean, I didn't, throw curveballs and do silly things. And I think what happens now is there's so many different exercises. I think more than anything, because they start doing other things that are non-throwing related, that I think they pull muscles and strain muscles that are new, fresh muscles. I really do believe that. I think that's why we see so many hamstrings and everything else that are being pulled and problems with it. Every time I hear of a guy who's got spasms or a back, all I keep saying is somebody go out and buy some salt tablets. I was in the hospital. I was actually put me in the hospital for 10 days. I went through a period with back spasms. They gave me cortisone shots. I had Valium. I saw my old trainer. He said, "What's going on?" I said, "I got spasms so bad." He said, "Quit taking your salt." And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did." I took 4 before the game, 4 after the game, 4 the next day, and they were gone. And for today, most people don't have salt in their diets. And even now when I play in golf or travel and I'm sweating and everything else, I take sea salt and just put it in the bottle of water, just a little sprinkles every now and then.
Was that Larry Starr that set you straight?
Actually, it was Battaglia.
Oh.
Yeah, he had retired by that time, just the old wars. And of course, Larry didn't have any say-so when they started taking salt out of the clubhouse. He used to have them there in the game, and they were coated and everything else. So they tell you how bad salt is, but the electrolytes just don't get absorbed unless they have some salt with them. You can drink all the water you want, and it doesn't really work. I drink pickle juice when I get in trouble. Got more salt than anything. Amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Logan Schaefer pinch hitting for Gallardo's night is done. A career high in strikeouts for him. He's pitched brilliantly. We visit with Johnny Bench. JB, take us behind the scenes. I try to tell stories over the years about Cooperstown, and when you go up there and there's a sacrifice attempt, who will take it? Francisco does, and they get the out. To watch you and Tony and Sparky when Sparky was there, and Joe, all of you get together, Tom, Seaver. It's a very special reunion for each of you up there, isn't it?
Well, and it was probably, George, our toughest year, as you can imagine.
Exactly.
With Sparky gone, then Robin Roberts, Harmon Killebrew, Dick Williams, Duke Snyder. It was just a very, very sad year. But, it's a brotherhood. But it doesn't really matter when the guys like us get back together. It's just like, it's old home week. I mean, we got more stories to tell. It's like we never left each other. We never did anything. And it's a bond, And that was the way we played for the Reds. That's why when I see these guys and all the guys that I have a great friend named Tom Devlin from Wichita, and he gave $10,000 to the statue. I came down, brought him down. One of my dearest friends, I brought him on the field, and he stood there and listened to me talk to, Alonso. He listened to me talk to Joey, and about hitting, and then he saw us together and some of the players, and it was like he said, now I know why you guys were so successful. You really were just like, you really genuinely liked each other, and you had the greatest respect for each other. And, you know, it's like we see Doug Flynn down here. And Joe just said, we mentioned Doug Flynn, and Joe said, man, could he play second base? And he filled in every time Joe was hurt. Well, Bill Plummer filled in when I was, you know, down. It was just an amazing ball club, and that everybody fit the niche it was supposed to have. It's important to have a leadoff hitter. It's important to have an 8th place hitter. And they have to know that they're that position. And then you got to have guys that come off the bench and know that's their job, is to come off the bench. And we've seen what's happened in Arizona, the way Kirk Gibson kind of did it with Sparky. And, you know, you can see when it comes together. And it's really, you know, that piece of that statue is just, you know, probably 150 pieces from all the guys that I played with, because they all really are a part of it.
You know, the interesting thing, John, about that Big Red Machine is a lot of people in this ballpark weren't even alive during the Big Red Machine era, or they don't remember it anyway. And those of us that do remember it, you know, you try to pass it on. But there are young kids that are, you know, have never really seen live games of the Big Red Machine, but they still acknowledge the Big Red Machine days. And they can even, maybe it's because they can recite from hearing their mom or dad talk about it, or their uncles talk about the lineup. I mean, like you mentioned, from people from out of town. Is that what makes this that particular team so special?
We all look, you know, we all look back at the memories we all have, and it's the same, you know, when parents start talking about it and they start reminiscing, and man, you should have, and then all of a sudden when it gets to be, and all of a sudden baseball seems to have a regeneration to a great extent. We see a lot of young kids, and it's amazing to me where I go that people will bring their kids up and they know me. I mean, you know, and then they'll know, yeah, we have Pete Rose and Joe Morgan, yeah, I mean. They're a little bit more into it. Maybe it's the fantasy league or whatever.
True. Yeah. You know, I don't know that you'll ever duplicate the talent that you had on the Big Red Machine, but in this day and age, when you talk to Walt Jocarty and Bob Castellini as you rebuild this franchise, can you recapture that kind of camaraderie today in today's game of baseball on a ball club?
Probably not. I think because of agents and the free agency and everything else, and they have their own agenda now. You know, the agents tell them they're not appreciated. They're, you know, they're misunderstood. They're not getting enough innings. They're not getting enough at bats. And you know, guys are, you know, there's a lot of delicate guys out there. Their psyches, you know, they're listening to this, and we all want, you know, somebody to, you know, sort of keep us on a level plane. But it's not the mentors like the time when we played, and it's not a. It's now. You know, well, you're not paid enough, and you should be playing this, and you know, you should be doing that, and you know, it's rare that it can happen for more than what, a couple of years.
I think the guys back in these days nowadays appreciate what players like you did back then. I mean, the most you made one year is less than the minimum salary today.
I think the total was a little over $2 million in my career.
Yeah.
Because I made $11,000 my first year. I was rookie of the year, made 20 as MVP, made 40 as MVP, made 80. So, I mean, I'm for a kid from Oklahoma, is, you know, well paid and everything else. But money brings status. And, you know, they sort of, you know, I don't live at Isleworth, and I don't live in, you know, Palm Beach, and I don't have that. You know, these guys have $3 to $5 million homes and stuff and everything else. And I'm looking for a condo. You know, it's like the old story when I saved up all my money all my career. And when I retired, I bought a 3-bedroom condo. And next year, the rookie bought the complex. Well, we've had one trip to the mound. Here comes Dusty. So, yeah, he struggled, but he's thrown a lot of pitches for just coming back out there. And Dusty's going to have to go to the pen. And pretty good effort by Volquez tonight.
Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We'll be back with JB, Johnny Bench after these messages. The hour, Johnny Bench, a statue unveiled in his honor prior to the game tonight. Ceremonies inside the ballpark as well. And JB, you know, you've had so many great honors. I mean, I was here in '83. Many of us were on that great night, '89, to be with you in Cooperstown, to see the MVPs, the moments that you've had. Where does this one rank in that whole picture for you?
Well, probably the greatest home run was and there's my number 5. I'm going to talk to that umpire. If he steps on that number again, I'm coming down there.
Bill Miller.
Billy, stop that.
Hallian, you know Hallian. You could tell Hallian.
Yeah, Hallian, he's out getting autographs before the game. You know, it's like, can I get a ball sign for my charity? And then they bring 2 or 3 out. And it's like, you know, it's just amazing and everything else. But the home run in '72, for the noise the factor of what it was, the home run that night, 28 years ago to the day.
Amazing.
And, you know, I still get a little, you know, chills. But, you know, more importantly, it was Joe Nuxall's call with, you know, with his heart in his throat. You know, it was like, it was just so cool that it was just, you know, it's very, very special. But what's up people come to see, you know? This is Mike Madden. Look at Helmsy. Look at Tommy Helms. I mean, everybody's doing it. It's 53,000 people, which is huge for me because it was the largest ever nighttime crowd, a weekday. And all of those people, look at it. I mean, it's just like they all came to see it. There's Tony Robello standing next to Bob House. He was the scout that signed me, and there's some trouble. See ya.
Ron drills this one. Forget it. Last night he hit 2 for his 30th. Here's his 31st of the year. This will clear the bases, and with one swing of the bat, this 3-1 game has taken a different look. That young man's a special kind of hitter.
Well, you know, from the beginning of the year, the first thing you heard, even as the season started, was Braung's commitment to working out, getting in the best shape that he could possibly get. And, you know, 2 things are happening. First of all, he worked hard at it. The second thing is he's batting in front of fielder.
It didn't hurt.
You know, and he's taking advantage of it. I mean, he's having an MVP year. There's no question about that. I mean, Chris, he's, you know, 31, 102, 103 RBIs now.
Well, he had 2 home runs to right field last night and nearly hit that one in the second deck to left field tonight.
I mean, these brute strength. I mean, these guys, I go up and pat them on the back, and I might as well be patting this county.
Right.
You know, they are.
Or your statue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's true. And it is, you know, they say, well, these kids are, you know, it's different. It really isn't different. It's just our impression of it that's different. It's the way we, you know, because they switch teams and everything else. But, boy, there is a lot of talent in the game of baseball. And you know, it's easier to talk about the negative sometimes and what's happening on the jurisprudence side of it than to really just go ahead and talk about, you know, how good these guys really are.
What did Sparky mean to you?
Well, he was my friend, first of all. He was a mentor, and more than that, he was a great manager. I mean, he proved that from the time that he walked in the door, because he had to prove it. I mean, he had the best players in the world, you know, judging him, and that knew the game inside and out. I mean, there were, you name it, Pete, Joe, Tony, myself, there wasn't anybody that knew the game better and how to manage a game. And he made those decisions ahead of us. And when he did, you know, it was like, it was a commitment that right away we understood that he knew exactly what he was doing. So, fielder flies out. I'm out of here. I love you, man.
Congratulations,
thank you,
JB.
Cincinnati. Thanks to the Castellinis. Thanks to everybody I played with. And boys, we will. There's nothing else left to do. What can I do?
You could sing the 7th inning stretch.
Holy cow, everybody. Take me out to the ball game. Well, we're in trouble.
What a night for Johnny Bench, and what a night for all of us to be a part of it. Great crowd on hand. The scoreboard may read one story, but the story of this night very clearly is number 5. The unveiling of his statue and very poignant moments of his speech outside the ballpark, recalling his career and that of those that were members of the Big Red Machine, and memories of Sparky, memories of Joe Nuxall. That's what this night is all about. Now the Reds trying to come up with a late rally here. They trail it 6 runs, 7 hits, and an error by Milwaukee. 1-2-0. Gallardo's gone. The Hawk is in. Troy Hawkins in to take over on the mound, and here's Francisco to lead it off in the bottom of the 7th inning.
You know, George, you get the feeling sitting next to Johnny Bench that he probably could have done anything he wanted. I mean, outside of baseball, not being a baseball player, just a terrific personality, great spokesman. Just one of these guys that stands apart from everybody else.
You know, because you talk about, pressure, operating under pressure. Johnny always did it. I mean, all of his teammates say the same thing. When he needed a big hit, whether it was the 72 home run he talked about or the home run he had on his night here in Cincinnati, or go down the list, all of those. But just a side story. We were at Cooperstown one year. Remember Daniel Rodriguez, the fireman from New York who sang after 9/11? Well, he was supposed to come in and do the national anthem and sing the Canadian national anthem as well. And they had thunderstorms, so we're getting ready to go on, and he can't land. So 10 minutes before we go on to do the ceremonies, we have nobody to sing the anthem, nobody to sing the Canadian national anthem. We got a young man who could sing the national anthem, but we had nobody to sing the Canadian national anthem. And I asked Ferguson Jenkins, Fergie, would you say, no, if I get it wrong, I'll never hear the end of it. He's a Canadian. And Johnny's standing there saying, I'll do it. Just get me the words so I don't mess it up. And he stood up there 5 minutes later, sang the Canadian national anthem like he had done it his whole life, under pressure, with everybody in the baseball world there. And that's what he did throughout his career. You're right. He put his mind to it. He could be a bank president, a school superintendent, a senator, a congressman, or who knows what. Just a special, special person. Well, great to have him do the 7th inning stretch. Maybe we'll start a new tradition here, huh? Harry's gone, but we could start it with Johnny. And I think it's so obvious. I mean, the repartee that you had with him talking about the young players in the game. He loves to talk the game of baseball. He loves to talk with the young players, instruct the young players, and he loves the fact that he's been brought back into this organization to do that.
Well, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't bring a guy like Johnny Bench back in here, but to honor him with a statue is something very special, and you really have to take your hats off to the Reds for thinking of that, doing that, following it up, and doing it in a big league way. I mean, that is a huge, beautiful statue. It'll be there for such a long time, naming the street, having a big day. I mean, you're right about the Castellinis, and since they have taken over, they have really gone back and embraced all those former players and tried to span the generations of Reds fans, because that's really where the base is.
Reds go quietly in the 7th. To the 8th we go. 6-1 Milwaukee. for the Coors Light. Cold, hard blast. The one run on the board for the Reds came off the bat of Yonder Alonso. A leaping effort by Nyjer Morgan. It goes off the thumb of his glove, and number 23 has a home run for Yonder, his 5th home run of the year. That tied the game and won back in the 2nd. Since then, it's been all Milwaukee. The Brewers lead this one as we go to the top of the 8th inning. Carlos Fisher will come in. Edinson Volquez started, went 6 2/3 innings, allowed 6 hits, and eventually the runs that scored on the home run, 2 of those were charged to him. So he was charged with 5 runs. But Chris, you add up in your report card on Edinson, pretty good for this start.
Well, you don't take the numbers and say, man, oh man, he gave up all those runs, and the earned run average is going to look bad. You give up 5 runs in 6+ innings, but I think he pitched much better than he did his first time out. That was against the Colorado Rockies. I think that he's got something to build on, and I would not be surprised at all that he heads into spring training next year, given he gives another good outing his next time out, as one of the favorites to make the rotation. Because he just gave you a sample tonight of a hot ball club, a good hitting ball club, and being able to, for the most part, shutting them down. Only gave up 7 hits, to make it 6 hits for Volquez. The 7th hit, of course, was the home run on a 2-0 pitch from Arredondo.
Well, here's Casey McGee to lead it off in the 8th inning, facing Carlos Fisher. What a full day it's been for JB. He's going to be around most of the weekend around Cincinnati.
I mean, he's just got to be breathing on adrenaline right now. I mean, after the day that he's had, he came in yesterday, visited with a lot of family, or a lot of friends, took his family everywhere.
Wants to go tomorrow during the day where it's in bright sunshine and nobody's around, like somebody's not going to be around, but he wants to get even a closer look at the statue. Tom Teixeira did a great job. Chris, you remember that very first time we met him when he was working on the very first statue, and you could tell he cared. He cared about Reds baseball. He cared about doing it right, and boy, he's done every one of them right. Outstanding job. And hopefully you saw this week as we reran the 4-part series chronicling exactly how this statue came about. That's a foul ball. Painstaking work, and a lot of time for Tom, a lot of time for JB too. They spent a lot of time together. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, beginning tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock outside the ballpark, Jesse Jackson will have replicas of that statue on sale outside of his trunk. Jesse, will you have that?
Remember the old wax machines they had in airports?
Yeah. So if you see him sitting out there with plaster of Paris tonight, Swing and a miss. McGee retired for the first out of the 8th inning. Jesse, you and JB go back a long way, don't you? He could tell some stories about you. One away, and here comes Betancourt, who homered to give the Brewers a 2-1 lead in the 4th. Single to make it 3-1 in the 6th. And the 3-run home run by Braun made it 6-1. That's where we are right now. Now in the 8th inning in Philadelphia, the Phillies lead the Cardinals 3-0. Already completed. Atlanta won 1-0 over the Mets. So the Braves stand to add a game to their wild card lead if things stay the way they are right now. Cubs beat the Astros 3-1. In the 10th, Florida and Washington are tied at 1. In the 4th, Arizona, San Diego are tied at 1. And in the 4th, San Francisco leads Colorado 1-0. The American League, Tampa Bay beat Boston the final 4-3, while the Yankees beat Toronto 7-6. warning track, reaching up. Drew Stubbs didn't get it. It's off his glove and off the wall, and cruising into second base will be Betancourt. I mean, that looked like it was in Drew's back pocket.
Yeah, he was cruising at it, which gives you the idea that he had that thing in control the entire way. It's going to hang up enough time, and he's kind of almost camped under it right there. Just didn't squeeze the glove.
So an error on Stubbs, a rare error on Drew. And that puts another run in scoring position with LUCROY coming to the plate. Tomorrow, Chris will get to see Dontrell Willis go after win number 1 again. Talk about a guy who's pitched in hard luck most of the time. Most of his starts have been quality starts. He's had a couple of rocky ones. But you know, the guys in this team would love to get him a win before this one wraps up.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, he has pitched his heart out so many times and just pitched well enough to lose so many of those times. Bullpen blowing at a few. And plus, if the score stays the same as it is right now to end this ball game, the Reds need a little payback tomorrow on the way out of town for the Brewers.
Reds came into today 3 games under 500. So the quest for 500 gets a lot tougher if you're 4 games out with only a week and a half left. Dusty would love to get to 500, number 1. Number 2, would love a win to tie Earl Weaver for 21st spot on the all-time list. 1,480. That's a walk. So an error and a walk. There are 2 on with 1 out. And that'll bring up Counsell. Counsell tonight struck out, grounded out, and lined out. This time of year, Chris, you look at a team that's heading to the postseason and you look at how they win a division, but you also look at how they match up when they get to the postseason. And I think it's pretty clear that the additions that Doug Melvin has made, I mean, you got Counsell, who's very versatile, but Jerry Hairston Jr. gives them a lot of options in what he brings to the fore to fill in different spots in a series where you may have to pinch hit and bounce your lineup around. And also the acquisition of Frankie Rodriguez really solidified that bullpen.
Well, you're right. I mean, you get LaTroy Hawkins healthy at the right time, Takashi Saito healthy at the right time, and then of course K-Rod, Francisco Rodriguez, coming in here and doing what he's done, and that's a lights out bullpen. Of course, with John Axford having saved more than 96% of the save opportunities that he has. So yeah, I think the way they match up is with starting pitching. I really think that, you know, Gallardo gave you a pretty good glimpse tonight. Remember that this 13 strikeout night for Gallardo, this is just no aberration. He struck out 12 last time he pitched, and that was against the Philadelphia Phillies. So this guy can pitch. You know, the same way for the tomorrow starter Greinke, the same way for Sean Markham. This is a ball club that is not just built to get through the postseason, but they've got a chance to go deep into the postseason.
3 balls, 1 strike. Action once again for the Reds in the bullpen as Fisher struggles here in the 8th. Check swing. Renteria will get nothing at second. He tried to turn, at his back to the second base bag, and the Reds defense has deserted them here in the 8th inning. An error by the center fielder, and this may not be scored an error. as Renteria went a long way to get to it, but it's an out that should have been made at second.
Well, I think he fooled Brandon Phillips that Brandon didn't think he was going to come to him with the baseball. He thought that probably the way to go with this is to make that spin move and then just go ahead and get the out at first base.
Scored a base hit, so the bases are loaded, and out comes Brian Price to talk to Fisher. An error, a walk, and an infield hit. That's loaded the bases here in the 8th. Well, Counsell will take the base hit. He came in under 200 on the season. He's now 1 for 3. Here's Kotsay. Mark will hit for the pitcher. And again, another guy who's been very versatile and added a lot of leadership to this club during the course of this year. He's come up with key pinch hits and key at-bats and key situations for the Brewers all year. They'll pinch hit for Hawkins, who pitched an inning, allowing nothing and striking out 1. This one hit towards the alley. He hit it pretty good. It's going to be one hop off the wall. This will chase home 1 run. 2 runs. The throw to the plate won't be made. It's a 3-run double from Mark Kotsay. A big pinch hit from Kotsay, and that's blown this one up. It's now 9-1. The lead belongs to the Brew Crew.
Boy, a nice sweet swing by Kotsay. We saw him last night when he was put in the lineup to face Bronson Arroyo as the starter in right field. He's another one of these veterans that has been around a long time and knows what it's like to play deep into a season. And nice pickup. You know, some years you have those years where it seems like everybody that you get is able to contribute somewhere along the way to kind of bring the whole. You always talk about pieces of the puzzle. And they've done a nice job here in Milwaukee with that.
That was the Reds last year.
It was, indeed. I always go back to what you used to say, George, and maybe you still do, but you don't pick the year in which you compete or you contend. The year picks you sometimes.
It's a good thing to say.
That was you, right?
Last year certainly was the Reds' year. And this year the Brewers have put it together. Once they got everybody healthy, they have been the best team in the division. Especially in the way they've played at home. But what they've shown in the month of September for the first time this year is that they could win consistently on the road too. No one in baseball has won more home games than the Brewers. They've been leading everybody all year long as Hart strikes out for the second out of the inning. But here they've been able to win on the road as well in September. There's Niger. Been on base twice, a single and hit by a pitch. Bounced out twice. Just as the Reds found out in the first round of postseason last year, when you get to the second season, I mean, pitching rules. The Reds got a full dose of Philadelphia pitching, and that's why a lot of people think the Phillies will be the team to beat again in the National League in the postseason. This one blew out as Renteria can't get it. Kotsay will round third and score, and Morgan has his second hit, and it's 10-1.
Well, the Brewers came into town really struggling. Had played 2-6 baseball in their previous 8 games, but the whooping they put on Bronson Arroyo and the Reds last night. Now they're leading by 9 here in the 8th inning tonight. They're giving everybody in Cincinnati a chance to see how they were able to separate themselves from everybody else in the Central Division there during the month of August.
Well, here's Ryan. Braun started the scoring tonight in the first inning with a run-scoring base hit that got him to 100 runs batted in on the season, and he gave the Brewers a 6-1 lead with a 3-run home run in the 7th.
We talk about Brandon Phillips hitting well when his dad is in the stands. Well, Brian Braun's father is here.
Is in town.
Walking down the sidewalk during Oktoberfest here this afternoon early on, and the guy stops me and says, "Hey, Chris." Turn around, I didn't recognize. He goes, "I'm from Milwaukee." "I'm not from Milwaukee." He goes, I'm Ryan Braun's dad. We watch you all the time. And nice man. He ought to be very proud of what Ryan Braun has done. He's an excellent young man and an outstanding ball player.
And, you know, he made his statement. They offered basically Prince Fielder the deal that they offered Ryan Braun. Prince turned it down. Ryan agreed to it. So he's a Brewer till at least 2015. He's made it clear he wants to make his home there. He's got a restaurant in town. Been very active in the community. That's a bullet into left. Another base hit for Braun. A 3-hit night for Ryan. 3 for 5 is Braun. And here comes Prince. 10 runs, 11 hits now for Milwaukee. The Reds on this night have scratched out only 2 hits against Brewer pitching.
Well, nobody up in the bullpen for the Reds, so it looks like it's going to be Carlos Fisher to figure out his way out of this hole. You know, he's got to be thinking out there, man, what might have happened had Drew Stubbs been able to hold on to that ball. I guess there is somebody up in the pen. I didn't see anybody down there, but Dusty's going to make a change. We've been watching the bullpen down there. There had been nobody up, and now they're going to call for Travis Wood.
Travis Wood had been up, and he'll come back in now. And Heisey will go out in a double switch with the pitcher spot due to start the inning. That's one of the reasons why they're trying to nurse it through. So while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. All you Reds fans, for Fox Sports Ohio Reds Fest presented by PNC, December the 2nd and the 3rd at the Duke Energy Convention Center. Don't miss your chance to see your Cincinnati Reds. Reds Fest, December 2 and 3. It's become a December tradition. Great time and great place to get your Christmas gifts, get your tickets outlined for the 2012 season. Chris Heisey in the double switch comes in to play center field. Heisey will hit in the 9th spot. Stubbs exits, and Travis Wood will enter in the number 7 spot. Chris, you look ahead to 2012. The Reds hope that Travis Wood can deliver what they had hoped he would deliver this year.
Well, you got to figure, though, George, I mean, looking at it realistically, I mean, he has gone down a couple of notches on the depth chart. I mean, John Bench even said, hey, there are supposed to be 7 pitchers coming out of spring training all competing for this starting rotation, and you thought a lot of these guys could be, you know, number 2 and 3 pitchers in a rotation, and Wood was one of those guys. But when he was bad, he was very bad, and was sent out to AAA and didn't exactly set the world on fire down in the International League. I mean, you know the talent's in there.
Scoreboard updates for you. Louisville's leading Kentucky 17-10, just starting the 4th quarter in college football. Ohio is leading Marshall 44-7, and Miami of Florida leading the Buckeyes 17-6. That's in the 3rd period. Now finally they get the out that ends the inning, but not before the Brew Crew put 4 on the board. They lead it 10-1. Bottom of 8 in Cincinnati. Reds go back to work. Dog, our John Morrell hot dog play of the night. Line drive left center. Niger Morgan tracks it down, robs Yonder Alonso of extra bases. Brilliant catch by Niger Morgan to short circuit a potential Reds rally. The one that got away, that was kind of payback, because the one that got away was Alonso's fly ball to center that Morgan was leaping for at the wall. It ticked off the thumb of his glove into the seats for the 5th home run of the year for Yonder Alonso. Morgan has moved from center to left, and Carlos Gomez enters the game in center. So here's Heisey for his first at bat, and he'll face the hard throwing Cameron Lowe. Chris steps in, his 250th at bat of the season. And in only those 250 at bats, he's got 17 homers and 46 knocked in.
All right, so in a full major league season, you get approximately 500 at bats, sometimes more than that. So you do the easy math right there. Is he a guy that can hit you 30 to 35 home runs a year? I mean, based on that rate, yes. Makes him very intriguing.
High in the air, left center. Gomez over, calling, got it, and one away. And it's not just numbers. I mean, he's proven that he's an outstanding defensive outfielder as well. So you put him out there, you get above average defense in addition to what offense he's going to give you. Steal a base, move a runner over. And we don't know what's going to happen, Chris. I think very clearly Walt Jocketty has told Dusty Baker that once the Reds clearly were not in contention for the division title or the wild card, play the young guys. We want to see what we have because we've got to get to the offseason and evaluate. You know, who do you make plans for 2012? Who might you deal in the offseason for what you do need? But if you were to take this team without any changes right now, you'd have to figure on the basis of what they've done that you're looking at the very least a platoon of Heisey and Alonso in left.
But if you look at a straight platoon that way, Chris Heisey gets far less playing time because he would be batting only against left-handed pitchers, and there are far fewer lefty starters in the league than there are righties. So that left-handed hitter always gets the majority of the playing time. Unless Drew Stubbs struggles and you move Heisey to center. And the Reds do have athletic options for next year. They do. Do you have enough pitching? That's always the #1 question. Might you have to trade to get that pitching? I mean, no matter what you talk about the offense and how you add it up, there's a bouncer down to short. Brandon's retired for the second out. I mean, Johnny alluded to it, the 7 or even 8 starters that you had in spring training. You really had 8 guys that could have been starters. And if the 3 that you had, that Volquez, Wood, and Bronson Arroyo, if they had performed at the level you had hoped they would perform, then the Reds would be in pretty good shape right now. There's Edgar with 2 away. Walk, single, struck out. By the way, I wasn't here, but congratulations to your South Florida Bulls. Notre Dame. Yeah, they really surprised everybody. Wow. That was huge. Didn't go over too well up here in the Midwest. No, it didn't. But for you? Yeah. One ball, one strike. Did pretty good, but measured by Gomez. He's got it at the warning track. Reds go quietly 1-2-3 in the 8th. To the 9th we go.
Nissan drive of the game. Second night in a row. Ryan Braun has shown you why he's an MVP candidate. A 3-run home run from Braun in the 7th. That ballooned a 3-1 game into a 6-1 game, and he and Prince could celebrate our Nissan drive of the game for Ryan, his 31st home run. He's got 4 runs batted in tonight, now 103 on the season. (10-1) Milwaukee as we go to the top of the 9th inning. Travis Wood, who came in to get the final out of the 8th inning, working here in the 9th. Todd Frazier comes in. He's your new second baseman. And Paul Janisch comes in at short. Here's McGee. 2 strikeouts, a fly ball out, and a ground ball double play. In the 8th now in Philadelphia, the Phillies lead the Cardinals 4-2 after Atlanta's already won 1-0. Great crowd on hand tonight, 39,766. And if you missed any of the festivities, Jim Day will chronicle this game. You know that, the highlights and everything you want to see about it, but it'll also give you a second look at the festivities surrounding Johnny Bench on this night. Two balls, 2 strikes. Now the 2 news stories of the night, Chris, I think number 1 was the fact that in addition to the statue and the duplicate statue that Bob Castellini gave Johnny Bench for his own home was the naming of Johnny Bench Way. Pretty cool. Which was pretty neat. That surprised JB. And the other part of it was that we suspected it, but no one had confirmed it until Johnny said that when they approached him to do the statue, he said, what I'd like to do is to do all of us from that big red machine in one statue, meaning Tony and Joe and Pete. And he said he was assured that each of those people will be honored in years to come. So that's great news as we look ahead. And shortly thereafter, there'll be the Jesse Jackson statue.
What a great gesture.
Good job. Nice work. Nice work. That's neat. McGee hanging in, fouls another one away. We'll try it again, 3-2. What's your favorite Johnny Bench moment?
When he came by the mound and told me to go warm up. And I thought to myself, man, Johnny Bench knows my name. He knows who I am because I'm following him all through high school and college, following the Big Red Machine. And he knows who I am. And then he flew out to deep center field again. It would have been off the batter's eye here. And he came by the mound again, and he said, go warm up. But he didn't call me by my name. So I thought, well, maybe he really doesn't know my name. He's just making it up. And it really wasn't very flattering. Third time was even less so. Those are my 3 favorite Johnny Bench moments.
That was JB, though, wasn't it? 12th pitch of the at-bat, and Wood finally gets McGee to fly out, first out of the 9th inning.
He didn't quit there. He was yelling from the dugout, too. Well, my theory, George, was to make them supply their own power.
That 87-mile heater?
87? Only when the wind was blowing hard.
Here's Josh Wilson pinch hitting for the shortstop, Betancourt.
I thought he made a great observation about Jay Bruce. And, you know, he said that before about Bruce when we've had him up here. And, you know, I know Jay's been talked to about that. I know that Brooke Jacoby's talked to him. You know, one of the biggest things that hitting coaches now say is get your foot down. And I'm thinking as I'm watching Jay Bruce, I've got a whole bunch of high school kids, you know, that are playing on a summer ball and a fall ball team that seem like they do the same thing, including my own son. And I've got a message from Johnny Bench to deliver. Guy knows his way around a baseball field, that's for sure.
You know, and I tell you, and by the way, it was when I got a chance to talk to Joey Votto and Jay Bruce today. Next week, when we wrap things up in Pittsburgh, and you and I are together again, we're going to sit down with both of them together. It'll be the 5th year in a row that we sat down with the two of them. We started when they were minor leaguers, and we tend to lump Joey Votto and Jay Bruce together because they've come up more or less together. They were friends in the minor leagues. They've developed and evolved together. But Joey's still older than Jay. He's a couple of years ahead of Jay in terms of years, but also in terms of baseball development.
Sure.
So we make the mistake sometimes of saying they should both be at the same place at the same time. And I think I've seen progress with Jay Bruce this year.
Oh, no question. I mean, he's honing in on 100 runs batted in. How many years did we see Adam Dunn hit 40 home runs and never get to 100 and say he had a good year? You know, I think that the teaser in Jay Bruce is that, man, you want to see that month of May over and over and over again.
1-2-3 inning for Wood. Last round up for the Reds. Votto and Bruce due up. Stay tuned to Fox Sports Ohio for Reds Live. Get complete highlights, full interviews, and a whole lot more. You'll hear from Dusty. We'll recap the Johnny Bench festivities of this day. Join Jim Day and Brian Giesenslaw for the final story of this one as Matt Sigafus puts the wrapping on a very special day at Great American Ballpark. That's Reds Live postgame brought to you by King's Honda and the King's Auto Mall. Visit King'sHondaUSA.com. Wouldn't it be nice to bring back the red machine? I think it was interesting the comment, and Wilson will stay in the game at short, that Johnny made when we asked him about, you know, you'll never have the talent of the big red machine, and Maldonado will be catching here in the 9th inning. But can you put together a team with the same attitude that the big red machine had? And it is a different game today. I mean, whether you can't always say it's the agent's fault, but you can say that I think, Chris, when you played and when Johnny played in that era, I mean, you close the wagons with your team. Today, I think so many major leaguers believe they are all part of the Major League Baseball Players Association, all entertainers in the game of baseball. And how often do you see guys, you know, going out to lunch or breakfast together and dinner after a game where that was never accepted when you played the game?
Are you kidding me? There are situations in this league with this team where you see players from the other team pull up in a Rolls Royce, jump out, and have a big get together with the players on this team in the hotel bar in front of everybody. and you never did that. I mean, it's changed. I mean, yeah, that's just the way it goes. But remember the Big Red Machine, though, at least until 1977, there was no free agency. And that was just about the time that the Players Association was able to strike a free agency deal, and the reserve clause began to erode away, and Andy Messerschmidt tested it, and so on and so forth. And that's why you've got movement now that you didn't have back then.
Frankie De La Cruz in to wrap things up in the ninth. He gets Joey Votto, and here's Jay Bruce. Votto tonight 0 for 3 in a walk. Bruce has struck out 3 times thus far tonight. I think the one thing both of these two teams have done, Doug Melvin and Walt Jocarty have done, is surround their young players with good leadership people. It started with Scott Rowland coming aboard, and the likes of Mark Kotze and Council in Milwaukee. It's helped some of these young players grow and develop. 2 balls, 1 strike. Join us tomorrow for the final of the series. We'll be on the air with Reds Live at 12:30. The game will follow. Dontrell Willis against Zach Greinke. Bruce takes the walk, and here comes Yonder Alonso, who's provided the only Reds run of this night. Milwaukee took a 1-0 lead, and to lead off the second, Yonder homered to center field to tie the game at 1. That's the last time the Reds were even Steven on this night. Phillies put a 6-spot on the board, and now going to the 9th inning, Philadelphia leads St. Louis 9-2 after Atlanta beat the Mets earlier today 1-0. So the Braves can add a game to their wild card lead, and the Brewers can add a game to their lead over the Cardinals in the division if things stay the way they are right now. 1 ball, 1 strike to Yonder. Nice catch. Big crowd tonight here for this one. A paid crowd of 39,766. Some have left now, probably attending Oktoberfest downtown. It was pretty neat there downtown today.
I was hoping to get out here a little earlier tonight, George, and make our way up there.
There's a bouncer down to third. The third baseman playing short, and they'll turn it into a 5-6-3 double play.
Looks like we'll have to hit it before the game tomorrow.
We'll get out there early. Well, the final story of this one, the numbers: 10 runs, 11 hits, and an error for Milwaukee. 1 run, 2 hits, only 2 for the Reds, and an error. A 10-1 win for the Milwaukee Brewers in Game 2 of this series. Ron Renicky and his club will tack a game onto their lead if the story stays the same in Philadelphia, with the Phillies leading the Cardinals. Whole lot more to talk about, and Jim Day's ready to wrap this baby up. JD.
Well, George will have to put a capper on this one. It will be a highlight-filled night. Unfortunately, a night filled with Milwaukee Brewer highlights. Coming up, though, if you're just joining us, we'll look back on Johnny Bench night. What a festive night it was, and we'll hear some sound and reaction from Johnny Bench as well. It's Reds Live, presented by King's Honda. It is next on the home of the Reds, Fox Sports Ohio. Milwaukee, second straight night, put a hurting on the scoreboard. We're back after this.